Welcome to the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson, Rick Avalos, and their special guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Well, welcome everybody again. Thank you for following us, and we've missed you for a couple of months. We took a little month off there, and we're continuing. Ricky, how are you? It's good to see you, sir. And you can talk
Uh,
today.
couldn't be better. Couldn't be better. And I'm so happy to see so many that are on tonight and a lot of submissions because we kind of peaked out and one or two more than we normally shoot at as far as our numbers. So thank you all for participating and submitting. We're looking forward to a great show. Gotta always do a shout out to our buddy Cliffy, man. He makes this whole thing work, and uh, we just appreciate it, Cliff. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Cliff, and thanks for coming back and helping again and again and again. And without all the accolades and all the awards and all the trophies that Rick and I get from the show that we can share with you. So, guys, in the chat box, the reason that we're really gonna go more towards image competition, um, in this show is because the Professional Photograpers of Colorado have our yearly competition coming up on October 12th. Tell them about talk about our Brilliance of the Brush and the other two stuff we have kind of coming up.
Yeah, real exciting news. The Brilliance with the Brush was a fantastic success, and we want to thank all of you who have participated in that. Uh, great reviews in the chats, and we really appreciate it. So we're working on two other projects. One that's coming up is going to be fine art photography. And just so you guys will know, we are planning to have these projects, these workshops continually. And every workshop will be thematic, if you want to call it that. Obviously, Brilliance with the Brush was Painter with in Photoshop. The next one coming up is going to be fine art photography, visions. You guys are going to love it. We've got three wonderful instructors. Many of you know Kevin Holliday and his long exposure work. Beautiful work. Dennis Calley from San Antonio, whose street portraiture is just off the chart.
Phenomenal stuff.
Oh, yeah. And then some guy that's, I think, has a future in this profession. Jeff Johnson is going to be doing a workshop on eclectic fine art work. And I mean, who hasn't seen Jeff's work or been to his site and knows what he does? So it's going to be a wonderful day. Really, same format as we had before. Now, given we have three instructors instead of four, but the individual workshops are going to be extended by a half hour. So you're getting more information, more bang for the buck. And when we think about it, at the $99 price point for early bird, gosh, for three instructors, 3 hours each, because there will be a Q&A the last half hour, $33. Come on, man. For information and education, any one of these three instructors, and because we've already talked to them, are charging $300 to $500. For a similar type of a workshop, full day, couple or three times that. So we're just really pleased with that, and we're going to also have working on another workshop, drone photography. So we're not just sitting back. It's something that's really exciting for us to produce for you guys, the education that's available. And man, that last workshop, I thought I was going to be more of in the facilitating mode. And I found myself making notes left and right, and I don't even paint, and much less in Photoshop. So I don't want to drag on, but anyway, that
Okay.
covered pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a lot of great. And if you guys have any thoughts of that kind of workshop themes and some people you like and stuff, let us know so we can go and take a look and maybe offer that for you in the future because we plan on doing something like this every month. So you have an opportunity. And then of course, once you pay the price for the workshop, you'll have some time afterwards to review it over and over and over again,
Uh,
take more notes and work along with it, and so on. So that's kind of
yeah.
the theme right there.
Yeah, and you know what, Jeffrey, if I may,
Yeah.
with that first workshop, like I say, I don't paint, much less in Corel or Photoshop or whatever, but there's always something you can pick up. For instance, just some of the Photoshop, like shortcuts or these kind of things that I didn't have a clue about. And maybe with our next workshop, well, I don't do, you know, 30-second or minute or 5-minute long exposure type images. But man, you look at the work, there's always something that you can pick up from that. As with Dennis Calley's work, and how he processes the work. And of course, we all know what Jeff does and how he finesses his images. So always something that can be learned for $33 each. We
Yep.
just feel it's that valuable and
Very
worth
interesting.
it.
And the other part of it that's kind of fun is because we are recording each segment separately. You could come back if you can't make it live, still buy into it because you'll have so many months afterwards to watch the replays. If you can't make it at all that day, you're not sure, we'll bring it back up later on, like the brilliance of the brush. That's going to come back out for your opportunity to buy into that here in a few weeks. So all that stuff is going to be a library that we'll have for you for the future. Okay. All right. Again, thanks guys for coming. There's a few of you that just joined the group. Jane, how are you tonight? Linda, Rita, and of course our lovely, lovely young friend from Oregon, Miss Thea. Thanks for joining us, Thea. She comes and she joins us every month. It's so cool to have some distance in our repertoire here. So thank you for joining us. Anybody else who I've forgotten, I apologize, but hello. All right, so as usual, I'm going to go ahead and steal the screen and then we'll bring up some images. That's all good. So let's start off with a image called A Moment for Reflection. And for some reason, the latest update of Photoshop has changed all my tools. So I don't have the minute sizing like I used to have. It's either that or too big.
Mm.
So, yeah, so I'll go ahead and jump in and then we'll pass it off. Okay, so again, for some of you who maybe are new or just catching up on what it is, part of the elements of design that a judge looks at, the number one thing is that impact. What does it say to the judge, to the viewer, as when the image is first viewed? And it's the impact that can be very compelling. It can pull the judge in. It can help tell the story. It raises the emotion and the interest in the scene. Or it can work the opposite. It's not something you can avoid. It is there, right, Rick? It's
Absolutely.
definitely something that is part of it. So you need to be really, really aware of that. And that's not just the subject, it's the whole composition of your submittal. So we're talking also about the mat and the key line, and we'll talk about that as we go through. It is a recommendation on some competitions. It is a definite rule in PPA. So I believe in MIR, our state, you have to have a mat with a key line, double key line, whatever. So those are definite, but they do need to coordinate. So we'll touch on those. This is very good. So the initial presentation, the initial color harmony, and the story, putting this animal this small with the reflection is it's wonderful. I absolutely love it because it creates a story. The mist coming in from the left, a little bit of a brighter sky on the left, all that stuff just obviously shows the highlights on the animal across the water. So it's a beautiful story. It makes you feel like you're standing right there. And that's, again, I think one of the most compelling parts
Hmm.
of competition images to put the judge sitting in a lawn chair next to the scene and experiencing it themselves. So this, I think I would score pretty well. The color harmony, throughout the image. Yellows and greens are always nice. Then you have a little bit of almost an opposite color of the orangey color of the animal against the green, so they're complementary colors. The misty coming in is kind of get a little bit of a blue cast, so there's some more little complement in there. The matte color choice, this is a tough one because you've got, if you go with a light matte to make the sky work, then you've got too bright of a matte on the bottom, vice versa sometimes. And that's just one of the hassles of putting a matte in it. But I think this was handled well. Coordinating your matte color with your scene, I think, is important, but that doesn't just mean make it the same colors. You don't want it to stand out. The matte is secondary. The key line is secondary. It's supportive. It's just supposed to be there mostly because it's a rule. I look at it. So, like, I wouldn't have chosen the color of the animal to be the matte. That would have just been way too much. Even though it would have been color coordinated, it would have been way too much. Rick, jump in. I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with all your points. Couple things. I just really enjoy that early light, late light, whatever it is. And that's what to me distinguishes an image is the strength of the light or the lighting, if you will. I personally, man, I would think if we came in from the right just a little in the crop and even from the bottom to make it just a little slimmer pano, kind of thinking it would have a little more strength to the image.
Maybe something like this.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I kind of look at sometimes you get just because the sky is there doesn't mean you have to use all of it.
right,
You
right.
don't have big billowy clouds and anything. So cutting out some of the sky and bringing it down just to the treetops on the right here, I think
Yeah.
makes it
And
just
then,
that stronger.
yeah, and I really enjoy the little shoreline or whatever it is coming in and leading to the deer or whatever it is. But
Yeah, it
uh,
leads to it. That's great.
and you're still getting the re nice reflections on the bottom from the foliage above. So, but I just felt that a little cropping might. Can you do a before and after or no?
Sure.
Yeah, and I agree with the presentation, what you said about that.
Well, and you can see how from the full view like this, it still has that impact. But when you take it into um, that little tighter crop, the animal still is small and still kind of has its place in the world. It's just a minute little part of the whole earth.
Yeah,
But if you cut out some of the, just a little bit of the excess, it still has the same story. We've just got less sky and less ground, and it brings us into the animal even quicker. So just little things like that that help. Cliff, anything you want to add?
No, sir. I'm good.
Okay. All right, then we will move along. Questions from the audience, feel free to type them in the box, and I'm not reading it, so Cliff will holler at me. Hi, Thea. She's just saying hi. All right, let's see. We got to get out of there, and we got to get out of here. Okay, now we have one called Chimp Looking Up.
Mhm.
Rick, go ahead. This is more of a
Yeah,
portrait.
cute guy, cute
More of a
guy.
portrait for you.
Yeah. On my monitor, um, I'm seeing pretty good detail, in the highlights and shadows. Um, if we were to do something along this line with the thirds, etc., you know, the guy is almost bullseye. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just wondering if we didn't crop it a little bit more from the left, there's some um, negative space here that I question is it adding to the image? And that's a big thing for me anyway. When we look at elements of an image, let's talk about the elements of the merit image. Lighting, I think, is good. Um, the technical excellence is held well. I like uh, the style of what's being happened. The subject matter obviously is there. I'm just a little concerned with the face being almost bullseye. So I'm just thinking if we cropped in a little bit more, because I really enjoy that we're allowing this space for the chimp to be looking up and into. I'm kind of thinking a square would look good if we
All right,
came in far enough from the left.
let's try it and see.
See, already that's making a lot of difference for me.
Already more better, huh?
More better.
So you want to try and keep that face offset.
Yeah, I would push the body to the left more of the chimp. Yeah, yeah.
Would you bring the top down even more too?
Let's try that. Yeah, not a whole lot, but that's yeah. And we were talking just a minute ago about before and afters, and I make this point, and I know Jeff does it, I do it, where we'll get um, feedback, input, and okay, here's my original image, and it was suggested that I do this, I do that. So I'm going to do this and do that, and then do a side by side. Look
Yeah.
at it, see how you feel about it, walk away, come back, and it doesn't hurt to have someone else uh, come and take a look at it and see what they feel. They don't even have to be a photographer, just, a gut instinct.
Well, that's the thing that we've shared this story with you before, so I won't go into too much detail of it, but it's our image. If we're thinking of putting out a competition, obviously it's a little bit scary, it's a little nervous. We're wearing it on our sleeve. We don't want to be hurt by it, but we want to ask some opinions. Find a friend. Rick and I share each other with our images and just to get feedback. And you might absolutely love it, and then the next guy who's doing a good job will come back with 15 or 20 reasons why to
Oh,
change it.
yeah,
So listen, you don't have to do what they say exactly, but just sometimes, and that's why this show came about, is just to give you some different points of view of what you can do with an image. And frankly, what we've done right here, I didn't even see that when we first opened it. So that's cool. Let me just go back to the beginning. Um, that it's I've always kind of liked the smaller image, but I see when we crop it that way, Rick, it does make a little bit more power to it. But again, just because of what we say doesn't mean it's the only way to do it, but it's just
that's
kind of
right.
hopefully giving you more ideas.
That's right.
Don't monkey around with it too much.
Okay.
What's the difference between a monkey and an ape?
Well, monkeys have a long tail. Apes have a very short tail.
Ape,
Um,
pretty
uh,
close, Cliffy.
Monkeys walk with on all fours with their palms down. Chimpanzees walk on their knuckles.
And then what's the real answer, Rick?
Well, I've just been educated, but I understood that monkeys have tails, apes don't.
And the chimpanzee is about 98% DNA with humans, by the way.
Well, that explains a lot.
It does.
And with that, we'll change images because that can go way south and way fast.
And guys, any of you who have been on here, we've been on 3 years now, or right around that point. We want to keep this loose. We want to have some fun. So, gosh, Rick, why do you have to keep going outside of what we're talking about?
'Cause
Well,
that's what he does.
fire me.
That's what he does. That's right. We'll withhold his next paycheck and see how it goes. All right, this is another one here that I think you're gonna like. This is called Dripping Velvet. Dripping Velvet.
Ooh,
I
go,
know.
Jeffrey.
I know. This is absolutely stunning. So
Whoa.
one of the things that, as we've seen over the years, and of course, especially here in the mountain states, we see a lot of wildlife stuff. And what happens a lot of times, I had this conversation with a judge for an amateur camera club, and I'm not saying this to, I don't want to cause any problems and not to insult anybody, so please don't take it that way. But there was a wild animal, and I gave it an average score. And this person came up to me afterwards and said, "What? Why would you do that? That's a rare Bengal tiger or something like that." Well, it was just standing there. It was a good exposure. It was sharp. but there was nothing action to it. And it, just because he flew 4,000 miles and drove another
Mm.
several hundred and walked in 13, 14 miles doesn't make it a better image. And I'm saying that right now, prefacing this particular story because this is the difference. We've all seen the moose images or the bear or whatever, but doing something more unique. So this is just absolutely stunning. I mean, when you look at this, you almost lean back in your chair and oh my God, he's right there. Look at the eyes, look at the expression, look at the intensity. Now, this has also been a painted image by looking close, so it's done, I think, very well. Um, but just look at the story. That impact you talked about, Rick, doesn't that hit you?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and you know, when you pulled it up, Jeff, um, I think my comment was, whoa,
Hmm.
uh, impact. You're absolutely right. And we can talk about that and we will in a bit. But I don't want to interrupt because I have a couple comments after yours. So,
No, no, go ahead. I'm good.
okay.
You know, I'll keep going on if I don't stop.
Yeah. Um, I think that, we see this beautiful presentation, submission and presentation. If I were to have a little bit of concern, I think it's just a little heavy on the vignetting. Um, I know that we want to focus in on the image, but I think we can pull back that vignetting
Just a
at
hair.
least. Yeah, yeah. And but man, I can see this hanging in any kind of a lodge or um, you know,
Yeah, I
hunting.
imagine almost a life-size image of this up above the
Oh
fireplace
yeah,
of a lodge, atrium or something.
yeah, beautiful.
Couple other little things, and I'm going to ask your opinion of this, Rick. Um, I, again, really fine tuning and or I don't want to say picky, but really fine tuning. I feel like the catch lights in the eyes might just be a little bit too sharp.
Hmm.
They could be just a little softer because they're brilliant white against the black eyeball. I understand that dark eyeball, maybe just a little softer edges. And then I'm getting a feeling this is what's hard with painting. This is why I don't paint. I realize the animal is standing in tall weeds, but I'm kind of getting more of a feeling that the legs have been cut off by the weeds as opposed to
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
weeds. And I don't know, I can't begin to tell you how to fix it, but maybe seeing through the weeds just a little bit more farther down on the legs so it shows a little. And again, you put this in front of a photographer or an artist who's been painting for a long time. They can tell you immediately how to do that. And again, not to be picky, but it just kind of feeling, especially that back leg, it kind of feels cut off more, if that makes sense to the
yeah.
maker. I know
Right.
the maker's in the room. Um, but man, what a absolute masterpiece you're working on here that I think it will definitely, just like we did, it came up and we all went, whoa. And when we used to sit in the parlors and we'd go to the competitions and the judges would all be sitting, five judges shoulder to shoulder in a row, and the image would come up, you could tell how good they thought the image is because they all jumped back a little bit, like, whoa, look at that. Or they leaned in real quick and forward. So,
Yeah.
Maker, I think this is, you're on the right track. I think a few little tweaks like that might just, who knows what it'll do, but it'll do well. Cliff, anything you want to add?
I was just thinking about the guy that travels 4,000 miles and through a rainstorm to get a picture, and he thinks it should score well. This guy could have pulled up in his car, said, "Oh, that looks cool," stepped out, took one picture, and left. And it's the image that counts, not how much
Yeah.
effort you took to get it.
Exactly. Exactly. So I definitely appeal to all of you to try and find moose by the parking lot. It's a whole lot easier. Okay. So,
That's
okay.
right.
This one's called Fire and Ice. And again, this is, oh, see, we beat the time, didn't we? That's cool.
You did, you beat it.
So my thought on this one is, first of all, it's absolutely, um, that stunning view. I think of course, a lot of us have seen it, not that that matters. But it's very breathtaking. It's very iconic. It's very majestic. That's why the Tetons are considered the majestic mountains of this country. Um, but look at the story here that's going on. We've got this mighty, mighty mountain and the early morning sun hitting it. And then look at the ducks over here on the left. And it's so solid. And it's a totally different color cast, color harmony. The cold, cool morning tones on the left and the warm, midday or early morning tones on the right. I mean, this is a brilliant display of the color palette, of the color wheel, if you will. Um, we always talk about the mats. I think the black mat is fine. I'm not sure what I would have done. I maybe would have, I don't know, maybe would have gone into the darker blue or something. I don't know. You got to, it's every time you, I always say every time you enter something, you're going to have one judge say the mat should be different. So you can never.
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, that's what happens. The mountain looks that way. I've heard judges say, well, the mountain looks kind of washed out and kind of underexposed. No, that's early morning sunlight, so it's cool. Would you maybe make that a little darker? You could make the top half the mountains of the sky a tiny bit darker, maybe with a great graduated filter, but I'm talking just a tiny bit. Um, what do you want to add to that, Rick? Look at
Yeah.
the mist on the water too. It's so realistic, so believable.
Absolutely. What makes this image for me are all the things that you said, but the secondary, if you will, subjects of the ducks, gives you a place to land. And notice how the ducks, let me get my deal here, the position of the ducks relative,
Yeah, good point.
a beautiful diagonal. And to me, I just call it diagonally opposed composition, where you have a main subject matter and then a supportive or secondary subject matter diagonally opposed. Man, that is, to me, very, very strong composition.
Well, it makes you want to look back and forth.
Yes.
You don't
Yeah.
just look at one, look at the other, and leave. You go back and forth, and that's what's powerful. You know, little things. I'll get to a point for myself when you get an image that's already of this quality and you've done your best to it. Go through with a fine-tooth comb, little things. And again, it's minor, but it does catch your eye. Look at the above the trees, but the reflection in the water. There is. Let me just get my little pen here. And it's spots, it's weeds, whatever it is in the water. I'd take those out. There's a couple more over here. Tiny little things, but I would get those out of here. It's just creating little bits of noise for the viewer. There's just little bits of stuff floating in the water, even these white spots. Again, it's not like I'm being very nitpicky, but it's those little things that just kind of pull the eye away from the main subject matter. You don't have to make it so absolutely clean like all this stuff. I wouldn't worry about some of those reflections. That's more natural, but some of them that kind of float by themselves. And funny enough, this little top of the tree, if you look at the tree, this doesn't exist. So I don't know if it's probably something in the water, that little bit right there. Just get it out of there. I know it's a reflection in a wave. Um, just little things like that. They just pull the eye away from your subject matter, like Rick mentioned. And minor as it might seem, that's a point. That's another point. It goes from 85 to 86 or 89 to 90. Little things like that really do make a big difference in scores, especially at the state level since we're still talking about scoring. It's huge. Next image is called Flamenco Dancer. Rick, what are your thoughts?
Beautiful, beautiful image. Um, there's really great detail that we're seeing throughout the feathers of the bird. I'm a little concerned when we look down at the bottom, as far as um,
Those are called
I've
feet.
known them as drop shadows, but I guess the term is contact shadows.
Oh,
Uh,
right, when they're standing in the, yeah.
yeah, yeah. A little more definition there, or so that we can uh, see that it's standing on the floor rather than, to me, kind of has a bit of a cutout look.
Kind of
Uh,
floating almost.
yeah, floating. That's a better word. Yeah, yeah,
I do see a little bit of shadow under the feet, but it's very tiny.
yeah.
But to get the effect you're saying, so it looks like it's actually staying something you're looking for a little more.
Right, right. Yeah, because I think the lighting on the bird, the composition, I feel comfortable with the presentation, the color, and the key line. Sometimes we have key lines that are pretty um, broad, and this one seems to be um, one that is works well with the presentation. And we'll talk about key lines, I'm sure, as we go on a little bit more. But that was my biggest concern, was the floating effect.
Yeah, I think you pretty well covered it. I think the body of the bird and all that is done very well. But yeah, the feet, it does kind of give us that floating feeling. The color harmony throughout the whole thing, from the bird to the background to the mat, superfluous.
Oh.
It's a word. I just read that the other day. I've never heard it before. No, I think just trying to give us another word to use in our vocabulary besides, it's really cool, man.
Like it.
Cliff, any thoughts you want to throw in there?
No, sir.
Okay, very cool. Then we have floating library. You'll love this one.
Oh,
Oops,
go for it.
get rid of the lines. So I'm not sure what we have here. If we have a building in a flood or a boat with windows at the, I mean, it's all just it's the concept, the conceptual part of it is what's intriguing to me because it makes you think. We try and not want to make the judges think too hard, but to create
For
an image
sure.
that makes them kind of lean forward and go, "What the heck?" Um, I mean, it really does look like a boat plowing through rough seas. Boats don't have windows up in the bow like that I'm aware of, but so this building and this storm, um, there's a lot to look at, but you still come back to the boat, you still come back to the windows of the building. Um, I like the square presentation. The color of the mat works well with it. It's one of those when it comes up and a judge goes, "Yeah," and they don't know what to say. Usually it's nice. Usually it's so out of the box that they can't come up with something not bad, but just something to really talk about. So I think this is just it's very unique, very creative. Um, I would have no idea how to score this. And that happens sometimes. We get,
Yes, it does.
yeah.
I don't know that I can add anything. I do like the presentation, kind of a fine art museum type of a look, but very intriguing for sure.
Do you think, and I'll just ask you this to kind of throw some ideas at the maker, this little break in the waves here is asking for a lot of attention. Do you think if it was cropped closer here, that it would bring more attention back to the bow of the building, we'll call it?
Hmm.
Or does this not bother
You
you
know,
having this here?
it doesn't honestly as much as as maybe this part does down here. Because we have,
Dark.
we're looking at the whole image and there's just a really good um just a really good uh what am I wanting to say? Highlights and shadows that are um gray dating, if you will, but then this heavy black area, against um the zones that are represented in this area. Does that make any sense at all? I mean,
Yeah, it does. It does because we do have a rather shallow zone system going on in the most of the image, 70% of the image, and then we have these darker spots that are pulling out.
yeah.
Um,
And Bert is in the house.
Bert's in the house. Hey, bud, how you doing? Good to see you. Are you safe?
Is it 6 o'clock Mountain Time yet?
Bert, mountain time really doesn't have any time.
Well, apparently it does, but in Arizona here we don't change. So sorry about that, guys.
No,
Oh,
no
you're
problem.
fine. So
Jeffy,
everybody,
Jeffy,
I'd love to introduce you to one of my dearest, and I'll say oldest, just not because we're old, even though we are, but we've known each other for 811 years. This is Bert Behnke, you guys. Welcome, Bert, to the show.
Hey Jeff, hey Rick, how you guys doing?
doing great.
We're
So
having
glad you're
fun.
here, Bert.
Yeah, I mean, this goes so far back that his folks and my dad were good buddies way back in the
Yeah.
60s in our Illinois group. So Bert and I just kind of had to be friends. We didn't have any choice.
Nobody else would have us, Jeff.
Nobody,
And Rick came
nobody else would
along,
talk to us. Oh my
But
gosh,
yeah,
this is funny.
it's been you guys are two of my favorite guys. So, and I'm
Well,
sorry
thank
I'm
you.
late, but glad to be here with you.
No,
Well,
you're fine. Glad to
and
have
as
you.
well, you obviously you know us well, but as you know from just what we've talked about the show, we're so laid back here. And if you have questions about our process, because you haven't done this with us, don't hesitate to say, "The hell do I do now?" That's okay. I understand.
Well, Jeff, you and I go back so long, we never knew what we were doing, but we always did it anyway.
You know what? That's perfect. We just kind of went ahead anyhow.
I'll pretend we're in a hospitality suite at a convention here. How's that?
The Decadome and Holocator, or no, wait, the Holodome.
Yeah,
How I miss those days.
Oh my gosh.
me
I
too.
understand that they reopened that Holodome. It was closed for a while, and I understand they reopened it.
It was. We did a little APPI reunion back there. It's been a few years now, 5, 6 years, and it's not a Holiday Inn, but whatever it is, it was still fun.
Well, just to show you guys how much fun we did have when we would have the convention there. And it would, first of all, it was a big convention. Illinois was a big group because we'd pull from St. Louis and Milwaukee and Chicago and Indianapolis. And we would have, gosh, we would get there like let's say on Wednesday to start. And how many prints would we have in a competition?
Oh,
600,
there were,
500,
yeah,
600
probably
prints.
5, 600.
And
Yeah.
we'd get in there early and open all the cases, and then we'd all get high from the spray, not intentionally. The convention would start on. We started competition on Saturday morning. That would go on all day.
Right.
We had programs Sunday, Monday, and some of Tuesday. Then we had an all-day board meeting on Wednesday. So I mean, it was a week-long process that we'd be at this Holocator dome, this Decadome and Holocator. And I'm talking about going and the biggest contest was amongst us who would get the least amount of sleep during those 7 days. So just to kind of lay some groundwork of where we're coming from. We have no brain cells left. So moving right along.
That
This
sounds
next,
about right.
yeah, I'm surprised I can remember that much of it. All right. So this image is called Flower Garden. And Bert, I'm going to throw you right into it. Basically, all we're doing is just doing a critique. Do you know how to use the tool in the Zoom?
No, but
So
I've watched it done. Is it it's in the more, if I
in the
recall.
bottom, on the bottom left corner of your screen, there's a little green pencil.
Oh, okay.
Click on that. It'll open the toolbar. God knows where it'll open, but it gives you the toolbar, but it gives you there's a little color, whatever. But just take your pen over there. Just if you want to draw and talk about a line, talk about a color, whatever, just draw on it because that's what people like is when we mess up their images. So go ahead,
Is,
Bert. Tell us
is
what
this like a permanent marker? It won't come off?
I've been trying to make it that way, but no.
Okay. What a nice perspective of this one. In fact, the reason we were running a little bit later coming back, we were just up in Sedona today, and it
Oh.
looks like I'm back there real quick with the Red Rock. But you know, beautiful image, great lighting on the mountain there, coming across the flower fields and into there. I think maybe the one thing it seems a little bright on the mountain, and I guess that's intentional because that's how it glows when you get the bright light on it. But what I think is the one thing that kind of hits me right away is you got all these color zones here. You got the blues, you got the oranges, which are contrasting colors, then you got the greens on the bottom with the yellows and things like that. But those that mostly, I'm looking right across. Am I drawing? I am, but it's very light. Let's change.
You
I
can go into
change
the
color.
tool.
There it is.
You can go to
I
the
see it.
pencil tool and make
Yep.
it thicker if you want to. Yeah.
I see it. So if you look in here, can we do delete after that too?
Yeah.
Anyway, what's happening for me, it's kind of dissecting the image into two different sections. It's got the
Yes.
foreground leading in, which is nice and bright and vibrant, and it's got the orange up against the blue, which is nice and vibrant, but it's got this dark green that's kind of splitting the image in half for me. When you have something like this where you're being led in from one end and out the other, when you have that stop in the middle, it kind of creates a little stop in your own head and into the design in the flow of the image. And that's the first thing I noticed and what I thought would be helpful now.
Let me do
Is-
this. This is another
Is
thing
it
that we can do.
fixable? I guess that's up to you. Go ahead. You got something, Jeff?
I'm just gonna, while you're talking, I'm just gonna play with the crop and see if there's something
Yeah.
that you might like better. I'm just gonna, and this is the beauty of this show is we can go in and just totally tear apart. I mean, help us image. So would you think something more like that, Bert, where we're kind of bringing this down to the third a little bit?
I think that would help because then you're not dissecting it right in the middle. It's bringing the interest back to what I think is the best part is right there, right? Actually, I
Yeah.
like that even better because as much as I like the flowers going in, it's just one more area of interest that kind of takes me away from the flow to it. So how did you get that to erase?
On the same toolbar, I don't remember if you have it or not, but on the toolbar that I have, there's a trash can,
Oh, just do it there. Okay,
and you click on it, and it comes up clear all drawings. So yeah.
cool.
But again, don't
Okay.
worry about it. I mean, if I go in and change things, I'll clear it, and you can just keep writing on it.
Okay. Oh, you can do it. Okay.
It's a
And
TikTok.
but it's a great image, and it's got, you've held the sky together. Your sky could maybe come down a little bit in density, but it's a beautiful image. But sometimes there's images within images, right? And
Exactly.
Jeff cropping like that, it's taken, and I love the image all like this, full out and stuff like that. But as far as you get into competition, you start dissecting an image with a dark area in the middle, and that won't help it so much.
Bert, how do you feel about the mat, the width of the mat?
Oops.
Well,
I stay there.
it's gone. It's there. It's gone. No.
What mat?
Honestly, because we're looking at a gray mat with the pinstripe along there on top of a gray background and stuff, it really didn't affect it for me one way or the other. If I want to talk about the mat, I think I probably want a little more mat around there. It seems to be kind of thin. And like in everything else, did you ever sell a portrait to a client? We're all print photographers, and we sold a lot of printed portraits and things like that. And sometimes you get this, you get like a nice 30 by 40 sale, and somebody will want to put a 3/4 inch frame around
Right,
it.
right.
And it just isn't substantial. It doesn't go with it. So with this one,
Right.
yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I think a little more matting around it would just give it a little more finish.
So do you hear the music, Bert?
I do.
That's and I'm sorry, we didn't introduce Cliff as our boss.
I see Cliff there.
Yeah, he's got a little
Cliff-
clock on, so we're trying to limit to 4 minutes on the conversation. But don't stop
Okay.
if you hear it, but just that's
Yeah.
kind of what that means.
Yeah,
We've got
Cliff,
walking music. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It's walking music.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cliff is the warden. He lets
Yeah.
us
Yeah, that's right.
But wait,
And-
I'd like to thank the Academy. I forgot to do that.
And trust us, Bert, if Cliff says do something, you do it.
Yeah.
Well, he probably has the ability to make the screen go black, doesn't he?
He has the ability to make us all go away.
I got
Rick,
some
anything you
like
want to
that in
add to it?
Chicago.
No,
I-
I think Bert hit all the points that came to my mind.
The only other thing I was going to add, and Bert kind of covered it, but just on the cropping, if you look at here's the image presented, the balance of how much flowers and how much rock and sky, it's kind of similar, so it makes it a little stagnant. But when you crop it just a little bit, the flowers are still there. It still tells the story, but it makes the mountain, the rock stand out even more. That's kind of how I see it. So
and it changes that separation line, as Jeff said, down to the rule of thirds.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. Okay, we've got more. Grandeur of the Midnight Sun. Bert, go ahead.
You putting me to work?
Yeah, it was more than one image. Sorry, buddy.
Oh, and by the way, Bert, we have 10 albums.
I was just about to go there, Rick. Anyway, I really love this image. I think the photographer has done a great job with exposure, with cropping, with placement. Everything we talked about a little bit with rule of thirds. Look at how that mountain in the foreground that has no light on it is kind of diagonally dissecting that mountain behind it with the snow on it. But even though it's coming from the top on the left here, you can see my cursor too, right?
Not really.
Okay.
The pen is best, yeah.
But that's what I meant. Oh, the pen, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If you look at that line I just drew in there, even though, and it's still drawing, even though we're talking the rule of thirds, if you kind of look at that, it's almost like that diagonal is taking up about a third of the image, right? I mean,
Yeah, it
even
is.
though it's on a diagonal, you don't always have to, I don't think, have things in the rule of thirds in the vertical or horizontal position. It's taking about a third of the image up. You still have all that beautiful, the mountain in the back that has all the texture. I think I see detail across there. I'm looking at my laptop, so hopefully it looks like it has nice detail across the whites. The blacks are black going into the gray tones. Nice matting. The key line that's between the mat and the image itself, preference wise, I might make it a little bit thinner, but that doesn't make it right or wrong. I think the photographer has done a nice job of creating depth, using that panoramic presentation rather than trying to fit it into an 8x10 type square is always a good idea, because then you got the true, you can get rid of the things that don't belong there and include all the things off to the side that do belong there. I guess that's what I'd say about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the line, like you mentioned, the line of the dark mountain, and it kind of emulates the line of the back
Yeah.
mountain as well. That kind of gives you that rule of thirds kind of thing. Rick, what do you think?
Oh yeah, everything you guys said, but one of the elements of this image that really, for me, defines depth and dimension is the row of silhouetted trees in the front. You almost are guaranteed to hear a judge say, well, there's no detail and blah, 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 blah. I wouldn't want to see detail because that's almost a frame in itself, a vignette, if you will.
Good
But
point.
man, that just adds so much more depth to the image with those silhouetted trees in the foreground.
Good point.
And do you need to see detail? And then there's just a supporting,
Exactly.
and there's 256 points on a scale, right? From 1 to 256.
Right.
Wrong with using them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the detail in the shadows back in the snow on the backside of the
Mhm.
mountain.
Yeah.
Or in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the midnight, so that's probably moonlight. Most cool.
That looks like that could be a Jeff Johnson print.
Thank you. I'll see if I can't steal that.
Oh, that's how you get them. Okay, never mind.
Oh, none of my merits are my images. This is why I do the show.
Someday people are going to believe us when we
I
talk.
just change the name on it. And
Yeah, you take
my
screenshots.
my catch line is when a really, really, really nice image comes up, I'll say the only thing that's missing is this Jeff Johnson down in the corner.
Right, exactly.
This is called Heaven and Earth. Very interesting. The reflections are captured very well in this. They're there, but they're not taking over. So we see the trees. I like the position of the trees. We're kind of down in that third. The trees are a little bit over to the left since they're leaning into the right. The clouds, sometimes you get a sky like that and it's too much, but this is it's just nice. The color harmony, it's a very soft color palette, mostly cool tones. It is all cool tones. I think the matte color was chosen. This is another, and I'm going to bring this up as a question, Bert. The key line positioning, I'm seeing that a lot more in competitions when I've judged as people are taking that key line and they're moving it out, so it's almost splitting the mat in half. What are your thoughts on that?
I like it as a design element. It gives me the illusion of like a double mat. So you've got when we used to cut mats and have one mat with another mat underlaying it,
Right.
and then you have that little line from the cut line that would be a little different tone. When this first came around, I was captivated by it. It had great impact. The design of the reflections is spectacular. I mean, I see detail in the reflection as much as I see it in the trees, and everything being carried up. The one area that maybe might hold me back a little bit, honestly, is the nice blue sky. Even though as much as I love that blue sky, I like the key. I like the tonalities of the sky down. If you guess what, if you try to use a white marker on a white sky, guess what you don't see. But if you look at all this tonality, these grays coming up through the water and the grays coming up into here, all the way up into about here, the tonality just kind of really has a monochromatic look to it. And then the splash of color, while I like it, I think maybe it might look pretty good if it wasn't quite as bright up there and it kept my interest down in this area down here.
So you're
What do
maybe
you
talking
guys-
a different
what do you guys
crop
think?
then, huh?
Well, but I like the placement. I love the crop because look at that line
Yeah.
down at the thirds.
Yeah.
But now look at that and look at how the tonality kind of fits together a little better. In my opinion. And what about you guys?
Ricky, what do you think?
Well, doggone it. If you hadn't have cropped it,
Sorry.
my first impression of it was wow. I really enjoyed it. I liked just like what you were saying, Bert, we have that horizon line down at the third. There's just a tranquil feel to the image. Obviously the impact hit me. Sometimes less is more in its simplicity. You know, I just feel like there's not a whole lot of fancy schmancy stuff going on here, but just a simple photograph of a scene that, as I say, was, gives the viewer, in my opinion, a tranquil feeling. And, with regard to the sky, um, I guess I wasn't so concerned about the blue as I don't know if to me it looks like there's maybe a tint of magenta up in the top left. At
Yeah, up
least,
in this area up here.
yeah, yeah,
Could
And that's
be.
very natural. I mean, it's not that I don't like it. If I was judging this, I'd probably be in the 90s as it is and listening to somebody talk me up, honestly, because it's a beautiful image. It's
yeah, I
actually
agree.
Very unique. Hey, what do you think? I just had a thought. What if, because I think we've got like more brilliant colors at the top and more subdued colors down here.
Right.
It reads a little bit. Not cropping it, but what if this blue is just toned down to more of a blue gray?
I think that I would play with it. I would definitely play with it. I'd love to see it done
Yeah,
like that. Because then you might have that continuation of these tones at the bottom up in these, I'm not drawing again. These tones down here, if they could carry through into the sky, then you can't help but stay right there.
Right,
yeah.
because then the greens
And
become more prominent. It keeps you.
right,
Yeah.
right.
So you could literally just go in and take one of the color tools in Photoshop or even Lightroom and just take this blue more into a very subtle, not necessarily a lighter blue. I like the density, the darkness of it, but to take it more of a lesser saturated blue, blue gray kind
Yeah.
of thing.
I
Yeah.
mean, I would look at it like that. If it was my image, I'd make it the both ways and look at it and kind of bounce it around. But I mean,
See,
and messing with it might not help it. I'd have
yeah.
to see it the other way because this is really a very cool
It's
print.
it's interesting that you
Image.
just made that comment, Bert, because we talked about that just a little while ago and in previous shows. That you'd mentioned about doing that and then looking at them. And we've talked about, well, take some of these suggestions, keep the original, of course, take some suggestions, do that, and then do a side by side.
Yeah.
You know, take a few minutes to look at it, walk away, come back, maybe even have someone else look at it. But yeah, so
Well, didn't
sounds
we
like
all do
we're
that
on the
back in
same page.
yeah. Didn't we all do that back in the day? We might come into the lab
Absolutely.
and especially when we had our own labs, we'd print it with different tonalities and different gels, or maybe go black and white in color and compare them and
Absolutely.
come up with the best thing.
Yep.
Cool stuff. Good. Yeah, I
That's
think it's
that's beautiful. That's a
something
beautiful.
that just hit my eye, and it's one of those things where if you don't see it first, but all of a sudden this cloud right here, let me go back into this guy here. This cloud has now caught my eye and the reflection here, and now all of a sudden that's all I see. I might suggest Maker maybe remove those two things and see what you think. Just a suggestion. Because all of a sudden one of those little things in a scene catches your eye. That's all I see now.
Yeah.
And Jeff made a good point because with judges that'll happen. You'll catch something and it's like, damn, I can't get that out of my head now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll hear the comment. Now I can't unsee it.
Right. And then
Right.
once one judge sees it, they always have to share it.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Very cool idea though.
I like the way you guys do this because you give people options. You're not limiting them to say, you have to do it this way or whatever. Maybe this and maybe that. And you got three different opinions here coming at it, which
Oh,
is
appreciate
really
that.
good
Yeah,
for
I
the
appreciate that. That was kind of our point was to just make this more of a conversation. And again, gang watching, you certainly can ask questions, either jump in or put it in the chat box there. Because we're not doing that good of a job.
well, we're
I'm
really not that
cuter.
good, but we can talk a lot.
So I'm going to call this is the title. This is not me talking to you, Bert. I'm cuter than you are.
Well, that'd be
So
true either way.
let me just say one thing first, and we'll talk with this to the maker. This is too small of a file. That's right there. There's 100%. So if I have to enlarge it to see it better, it's going to lose quality and why I won't let me there. But I will enlarge it so our judges can look at it and talk about it better. So guys, it's going to look a little over sharpened or fallen
Yeah.
apart. That's because it's a smaller file.
Right.
Go ahead, Bert.
Okay, well, Jeff, this kind of reminds me of what we would look like after those conventions some of the
I was
time.
thinking the same thing. 5 o'clock in the morning, and we're still up.
Or
I'm on
anybody
what
else we would
committee?
hang around with.
What
You got
meeting?
a great capture, great eye contact with the animal, a lot of cool things happening there. I'm assuming it's laying on the mother here at the bottom because of the fur, because I doubt somebody brought a prop of a hairy rug in there. But you got all kind of neat things happening here. Now, the one thing that probably two things hit me the most, and you guys I'm sure hit on them too. The difference in the background being bright like this, I think I would take that background down and maybe try to get the green out of it a little bit, go a little more monochromatic. This might even look good as a black and white. I don't know, although I love that tongue, that and
Yeah.
the little bit of green in the face. But it just seems to be cropped really tight for me. Or almost this arm's almost coming out the edge and the legs kind of caught into the middle here. It's cropped on the edge? I don't know what might be back there. That it's that's a Can you see my thing moving up and down on the right?
No.
No.
The pen? Okay. I've been doing that thinking I should do this if I'm gonna do that. Now you see my cursor probably, right?
See your cursor, yes.
It's on the tongue.
No,
No,
You don't see it.
must be
Okay.
Jeff's cursor.
that's
Never
mine.
mind, then you can't see mine. So that's why he says use the drawing tool.
Yeah,
So
use the
anyway,
drawing tool.
if
Yeah.
you look over here on the right-hand side here that I just
There you
circled,
go.
Yeah. Yeah.
the way that's cropped there, it's kind of cropped into this appendage in an area that I don't know what belongs outside of it. I might want to crop in a little bit more instead of right there, just at the very tip of it. And over on this side, I think there could be a little more room. I just think it seems to be kind of tight on the end. But mostly I think was that Jeff, was that you playing with the tonality of the background a little while ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look what happens when he plays with it and everything. It really kind of takes your attention away from the contrast in the color and the contrast. And see on that cropping, all of a sudden, I so would have liked to have seen more room on the left, but we can't give it more room.
Right.
So
Yeah, the knee pulls your attention, that's for sure.
it does bring it, but then again, when it's cropped out, like I said, we look at things when it's cropped out, it almost makes it look too dead center on the face for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just got to keep playing with these sometimes, and maybe crop it as even more slim with less on the bottom. That might give it a little more impact if you try that. He's the crop master, isn't he?
Somebody's got to do it.
It's drawn my attention more to the animal at that point. But then my biggest point is I think the background in the back really draws my attention back away from the animal as opposed to keep me on him,
Yeah.
her, whatever it is.
Yeah, you could easily go into the like in Lightroom, go into the gradients and just select that background, just tone that down, either add a gradient to it or tone it down, bring it maybe even more into the color palette here. And again, I'm looking at, like Bert made a comment about black and white, that maybe that would. The other thing I'm thinking is, does it look a little, it looks a little, is it underexposed or under processed maybe? I'm seeing kind of
Yeah.
cyan cast in here and that green tone in the shadow there that I'm wondering if that's throwing us for a loop too.
Because not only is there, when we talk about contrast, we always seem to be talking about light and dark, but there's color contrast too, and I like it much better as a black and white, I think.
Yeah.
Personal opinion.
So just by taking the yellow slider down and you can see how the background just plays down a little bit more, lets the face stand out. Can brighten up the tongue a little bit more. Go in and do a little dodging and lighten up the eyes. You could lighten up the face and darken the whole image just a little bit more. That's when the big hook comes out and grabs you around the neck and pulls you off the stage.
I love that music. That's great.
I know.
That's a nice way to say stop talking, guys.
Because we got a few more to go here. Let's see. Hang on, I just lost.
We should recommend that for the judging when they do the actual judging at PPA and things. Play the music when some of us get a little bit long.
There should also be a penalty if everybody just talks right through it too. Okay, so this one is called Oops, let me get rid of that tool. Hold on. This, hang on, this is called Into the Wild Blue Yonder. Rick, let's let you jump into this one.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we got this beautiful amber light that's coming in on the birds. I like the fact that, as far as the capture, I'm not going to question anything about the capture, placement or this and that. But what intrigues me, one bird with the wings up, one with the bird wings down. I'm kind of thinking more of a pano, cropping off from the bottom and possibly from the right, just to have a little more lead room, you know, for them to fly into. Matter of fact,
You can do that.
if there's room on the file, even more room to the left.
Mhm.
I don't want to put them exactly in the middle, but let's just maybe go like this. So kind of like this leading line of this white clouds coming in. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Rick brought up a great point that when you have things in motion like this, if you center them, it makes it a little more stagnant in the movement. If you give them a place to go to, there is room for them to go to there, but
Good
you
point.
need as much room as where they came from. And I tend to agree that by cropping in and if there is more room to the left, it just gives it a lot more space to go to. And those birds are moving. But what a great capture, what a great moment that the photographer caught it at, where we got
So-
the fully
And I like
extended.
the warm light against the blue scene.
Right, right.
Yep.
Here's a thought that, we used to do this for years. This is not an AI thing, which you can't, but you can go in and stretch that canvas. You can go in and extend the canvas another
Mhm.
couple inches, and then just select this portion of the sky and transform that to fill up the canvas, and you'll
Sure.
get that more. And that's cool. That's perfectly fine to do. That's not an AI thing. That's just a
Right.
physical transformation. So that's groovy.
I mean, like you said, that's just a post, that's a presentation tool. I mean, we used to do it in printing.
Oh yeah.
We would stretch, I remember taking paper when we were printing it in enlargers and stretching it over the edge of the easel so that it would
Absolutely.
fall off and lighten up. It's just a trick that's been being done since, Ansel Adams did stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think he had Photoshop, at least not the current version.
But you know darn well if he was around with Photoshop, he'd be a master at that right now. So
Oh, geez.
there
You
was even an
think?
interview I saw of him and when Photoshop was out when he was an older guy and he said I would love to learn Photoshop.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Good stuff. Let's see. Let me clear that off.
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
we used to take if I wanted a vignette at the bottom of my frame, I would just hang the paper off the front of the easel so the image would go soft and there was your vignette, your soft.
And those tools are all available digitally now, which is great, which like Jeff said, you can just stretch it
Yeah.
depending on where you're, and sometimes you got to watch if there's detail in there. If you stretch it, it could look like it's moving or something like that. But then again, you can always correct it. You can redo it, right? That's
Yeah,
also-
you don't want a face or a car in there because that would be obvious.
yeah.
A plate of pancakes would look really weird if it was stretched like that. Okay, well, moving on here. This is called Lakeshore Dining. Bert, what do you think?
I think it's a moose, no?
Yeah.
I'm looking for the big rack, but it must be a young one. You can tell I grew up in the Chicago area, right? Great placement. I think you've got with the animal off to the right in the rule of thirds. You've got nice flow to that. I like it must be a little bit of a slower shutter speed because, well, you know what? I'm going to take that back. I'm not sure what's happening right in here because I see
I think it is water droplets from the mouth.
it looks like it's water droppings coming out, but it almost looks like motion back here to me, which that confused me a little. Can somebody help me with that? Maybe. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think it is a slower shutter, but probably like, a 30th or 15th or something. So the water's moving a little bit.
But then it's stopped right here.
But then the moose didn't move, so it's still sharp. I don't know.
Okay.
Good point.
Okay. But anyway, little things like that, and we catch things like that, and we think we're experts, so we bring it up. Again, the contrast of the greens, I don't know that I love it, but I like the fact that it gives us a mid ground a background and then a midground between the animal and the greens in the back. Nice placement. Maybe a little more presentation might help this. It looks, it's full bleed out to the sides. But that's kind of a funny question because in a lot of competitions, they don't want presentation anymore. But I still like a finished presentation of something. It looks like maybe, is there a line around it? I'm moving to the side now. Yeah, there's a little key line around the top, it looks like.
Well, you know what? Let me do something real quick here.
But I think if there's a little matting around it, it'd just kind of bring it in a little
No,
more
there's
finish.
not.
No, there
You're
isn't.
right. There is a black stroke. Looks like there's a black stroke
The
along.
black stroke on the edge, yeah. But maybe just a little more of something outside of it to give it a finish might help it. I don't know. This one, I don't have a whole lot of other things in it. Maybe you guys have something.
I think there's definitely some possibility here because it is an interesting piece. It is a good capture of the moose. I mean, I love that it's turned and looked at the camera. That's always real powerful in wildlife images. It just adds that connection there with the viewer and the animal. I would maybe, like you said, tone that green down of the bush over here, although I wouldn't make it as flat as the background because it does give us depth, but maybe take some of the yellow out of it so that it's there, but not as prominent. Maybe, other little things like I would go in and see me enlarge this here. Just dodge the eyes, hold back the eyes a little so they have just a little bit of brilliance, add a catch light, just little things like that. Make the eyes stand out just a little bit more, not obvious.
And I think that would help because I love the rim light they have around it, the little.
Yeah,
rims
look at
going around
across
fur
the
on
head.
top.
Yeah.
And even on the side here, on this side here of the animal's
Yeah, absolutely.
face, it's really nice. And I think when you pop those eyes out, it kind of enhance the whole face. Do animals have faces? Do we still call them faces?
Well, I think so, but I don't know if that's politically correct. So,
Okay.
another thing that's kind of cool, this little key light, not key light, rim light on the hip
Mhm.
gives a
Yeah.
separation between the body, so it gives a depth to the scene. So that's kind of cool. Another thing I might do is I might go in and just do a little dodge, hold back the mask of the face just a little bit, and let the rest of the scene go just a little bit darker so that face stands out a tiny bit.
And you know what I like what Jeff said there? He's saying a little bit. Remember, sometimes it's like cooking. If you put too much of something in, it tastes bad. And if you put just the right amount, it tastes really good.
Yep.
Same thing with doing things like that with dodging. You don't want it to be obvious, but just pulling it back just that little bit makes a big
Yeah.
difference.
It's very much a gourmet meal, isn't it? Another thing that
Could be.
if it's at least some jerky, right? Something that just caught my eye, and we'll chat about it because there's another option. I kind of got the feeling all of a sudden that there maybe was a gradient added to the top of it, and I don't know if it's just there's a line. Let me get my pen here. But that's a bush line right there, so I don't know if it's low bushes and trees. But look at the darkness here. It's a little bit darker than it is here. So if there is a gradient on here, good idea, but extend it maybe down to the water so it's more gradual. And then you can go in and remove an animal. So you could go in and extend the vignette, but it's very obvious here. So you could go in and add the gradient, subtract the moose, subtract the trees, and I think you'd have a realistic gradation of that tree. And I think that would create some more depth in the scene.
Yep, good point.
We next have a Life's Etchings. Rick, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we talk about impact, and certainly, there's impact for me in this image. Storytelling is there. I think the lighting is handled well in that, it reveals the texture of this beautiful subject. It could be argued that maybe smaller f-stop so that we don't have, the blurring of the jewelry, if you will, for lack of a better word, because it's so close to the plane of the face that maybe it should be in a little bit more focus, maybe even coming in and toning down areas here. But as an image that could be, gosh, it could be illustrative, it could be reportage, or or just even in general, photographic open as a portrait. But there's definitely impact in this image. I think in the background, just something to maybe come in and smooth out areas here to where they're just not quite as dark. Now, it just may be something on my display. Are you guys seeing an evenness here, or are you seeing a little bit of almost a banding type look, or are you okay with that?
I see a little bit of a curvature here of something. I think it's just a background thing, but I don't see any banding in my end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I do. Rick brought up a great point about your f-stop selection. We get these lenses that we love, those wide open lenses, the 1.8s and the 1.2s and the 2.0s and things like that.
Right.
But I think that this is a real integral part of this person, is the jewelry. And because it's starting to go out of focus, it's not telling the whole story of that person, because it becomes much more secondary because you're keeping all your interest right into the mask of the face. The other thing with that is, I mean, bokeh. Everybody's talking bokeh, and everything talks about bokeh. But what is that back there? Is it a painted background? Is it mountains? Is it the back of a shack? We don't know what it is. Sometimes, and I don't know in this case that it would be, but sometimes part of the story is back there too.
Oh, good point.
That's an excellent point.
And what you've done here is there's no story back there because it's just bokeh. Like we said, it could be a background you purchased from your lab. We don't know, and I'm sure it's not, but it could be anything, right? And I think that's to the extreme of it. But then, like I mentioned, right there, that's really part of the story, and I'm really I really like the whole story of a portrait or a reportage, whatever it is, because there's more than just the person in this. And then just the final thing, Jeff brought up on something earlier about, look at those eyes. I think maybe, Jeff, you're more of a, probably on this. Do you think taking a little bit dodging on those eyes to make them pop a little more might help?
So just bringing out the highlighting the color of the eye more.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I like this side. This one maybe could go a little more, but that definitely does bring the attention to the eyes because we're making them more prominent. Um,
Yeah.
Lots to think about
I
there.
wouldn't change the size. I mean, if this was somebody's portrait, they might want a little less white in this eye, but but for this case, I wouldn't do it. This case, I think that tells the story of this person. The eye's a little bit different on that side than the eye to our right side presents a little bit different than the eye to our left side.
Yeah. So a question that, and I've worked with a lot of people that have asked this question, something like this. We've got several categories this could enter in, knowing the rules, knowing that we've well judged for years. What do you think would be a better category for this? Portraiture, photojournalism? Any thoughts on that as to what you would suggest? How would you enter this? What category would you enter this in?
Oh, for me, I'd probably go photojournalism.
Okay.
Only because in the portrait area, I think there's just some things that you might want to consider that you have control of. And in this one, it seems to be more of a quick capture photojournalistic
Candid thing, right? Rick, any thoughts on that question?
I think that's a good point that's made. Remembering that when we enter in photojournalism or reportage or whatever they call it, there's a limited amount of editing that can be done. So that needs to be taken into consideration.
Right. Good stuff, guys. Thank you. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one here.
That's great stuff, Jeffy. Great stuff.
We still call him Jeffy?
Oh yeah, Ricky and Jeffy. This is the Ricky and Jeffy shows. This is our tag name here. And what's funny, and actually, I think he said this before you came in. a lot of times I'll say something, whether it's the two of us privately or tonight in front of the group, I'll make a comment about it. And I'm not bragging, but he'll come back and say, that same thing happened to me, but just a little bigger, or a little more
Well,
importantly, or a little
yeah.
longer. It's just always, and it's not like monstrous, it's like minutes longer,
Well,
or $5 more, or something like that.
when when Jeff was talking about you, Bert, coming on, he was mentioning how you grew up together and you've known each other for 45 years. And I just chimed in and I said, well, I've known Bert a long time as well. As a matter of
Yes,
fact,
we have.
yeah, and I've known Bert longer than I actually know Jeffy, because you said, Jeff, that you've known him 45 years, and I said I've known him 45 years and 1 month.
And he does it all the time, and I don't even see it coming on after all these years. I still don't see it
He
coming
still
on.
gets you on it.
He
I
still
mean,
gets you on it.
and you know what's fun with the three of us, we have this in common. You guys are both second generation, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh
You're
yeah.
not third. So all three of us are second generation photographers. All
Right.
three of us, our fathers were the photographers, and our moms were on the business side and things like that.
Yeah.
And we got to grow up being kids and learning things probably much earlier than a lot of other people. We had a lot
oh
of
yeah.
advantage.
Well,
And
I was uh, it was a thing. I had to get back to the studio right after school because there were photographs to wash, then there were photographs to
Mhm.
dry and mount, and ferrotyping for high gloss images for
Yeah.
publication. Oh man, well we can go into that forever.
When I remember my dad would bring home, he would shoot some business portraits on, 5x7 film. He had this split back, so he could do 3.5x5s on one 5x7 sheet. And he'd bring it home to the home darkroom, and I would go downstairs and help him uh, work in the soup, develop the negs. And of course, my fingers were turning brown, and mom would just freak out because you're killing our son. You're killing our son. So she wouldn't let me go into photography.
But it never quite
So-
worked. Well,
Okay.
and what's real funny too is you mentioned a split 5x7, which most people won't even know what that means.
Right, right.
But basically, my dad worked with an 8x10 camera with
Like
an
an
8x10
outdoor
film
room.
back
Yep.
that he kept cutting down and eventually had a roll film adapter
Oh, you
on the
no
back of
kidding.
an 8x10, which
Oh, that's
basically meant
priceless.
that normal lens became a really long portrait lens.
Oh, that's too funny.
He's just using a small part of this big, think about
Right.
using 2.5 inches of an 8 by
Oh
10
my
inch
gosh.
image.
Right. Sharp, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yes, it was.
Okay, so next image is called Looking Back. Rick, this is right
That
up
is
your alley, man.
very, very cool. Very cool. I have a little concern with the color of the mat because I'm sensing kind of a cyanish look, color shift in the subject. It could be the color temperature of the light that's coming in, but I think a little warmer color temperature would benefit the subject itself. But the expression, I think the composition is held well. And even in saying that, if there's a little bit more room uh, to camera right, probably would be helpful because that would push the subject's face a little bit more into the PowerPoint here. But see what you guys feel. But I just feel like the color of the mat isn't really helping the presentation.
And I think Rick had all the points on it because if you look at the white turban or whatever they're using at the top, you can see the cyan highlights in there. You know it's there. You can see it in as you go past the man to the background, you can see the cyan. And I understand why they use this green mat. It's because there's those green tones
Right.
in the wood over here. I understand that, but maybe the solution is to tone down the greens on here and carry the cyan through if you're going to keep it cyan and match it with the matte there. The point of bringing up extra space on the side here, if you remember a few images back, give it somewhere to look into.
Right.
To do the whole thing. And the other thing that got me a little bit is look how bright the light is here again in this area, which is on the right, and it's because it's flat. It's as I stumble and try to talk a little more. You've got the brightness coming in on the broad side of his face, going across, and it's naturally going to hit this thing flat. But you got bright, dark, dark, back to bright. And again, it's making your eye play across there. And I think toning this down here on the right and giving a little more space would really create much bigger impact. But what I do like is that the selection of the lens allows me to get part of the story behind him, and it's not just disappearing. I can still see the hut, the walls of the inside hut, and they're pretty bare and there's not much in there. Powerful story.
Yeah. One thing that just caught my eye when you were talking to Bert, let me go down here and just try. This is kind of a big black area. It's not bad, but let's just eliminate it a little bit here if I can get the mouse to stay. Whoa. Now this is going to go too light overall, but just concentrate on this area. So just bringing in a little bit of the textures right in here, in that specific area, I think would be, because here it's kind of a black hole. You fall in, you can't, oh, help me, I can't get it back out kind of a thing. But I like the overall darkness density here. And then, of course, my solution for this kind of thing, we talk about the green and this magenta is, oh, wait, let's look at black and white.
Yeah. I think that's really tells a big story there.
So many times that gets you past the color, and I can lighten up some of the tones and bring us into.
And even get you past that little black hole a little bit, and
I can lighten that background just a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see that on a page in a National Geographic, wouldn't you?
Yeah. If I take the reds down, look what it does to the skin, the highlights. It gives it that real nice texture of the highlights. But yeah, I'd still maybe tone this down. I would even tone this down a little bit more too and let that face stand out. Do a little burning and dodging. We've got a catch light in one eye and not on the other. The sun's coming from this way, the lighting direction, so you're not going to have a real obvious catch light in this eye, but putting a little something in there might help, but lightening the pupil of the eye up just a tad. But what a great story. The black and white, I think, really sells it even more, in my opinion. That's all I've got to say.
And even with that shift to black and white, the mat itself is more appealing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because you're talking about you got the green and the magenta,
Yeah.
which are, complementary colors, but they're asking for attention.
Yeah.
So going to black and white, we're now eliminating the green on the fence and the
Yeah.
magenta cast and so on and so forth. And I
And
think
we talked about an image several ones back, Jeff, and you brought up about the clouds on the side that we were way high in score, but once you saw it, you can't unsee it. Little catches, but I'm looking at the top left corner and just that little sliver.
oh,
Right
I see that. Yep, yep. And then speaking of the same thing that just caught my eye, the person's got a ring on. Look at that highlight right there. Again, minor thing, but it pulls your eye away from the story we're trying to tell. So I would definitely tone that
Yeah.
little highlight right in the middle right there. So
When you're looking at your images before you quit working on them, squint your eyes, stop your eyes down a lot. And
There you
when you squint down, that little point of that little ring really it looks like a dust spot then.
yeah.
You know what it is when you're looking at it wide open, but squint down and it draws your attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Or the other little trick that we do is remember flip the image upside down, so you kind of throws your brain off for a minute. You'll see those things just as fast. It's like we used to use the 4x5 view cameras.
I like doing that with my cell phone. I'll turn it upside down and then oh wait, it'll turn itself down.
That
Don't
doesn't
use it,
really
don't
work
use it on a
too
cell
well.
phone or iPad. It keeps straightening itself out, doesn't it?
No, that's not what I.
Tell me you've never done that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. You turn and say, wait, hold on. Mom, you said you'd wait. Mom said you'd wrinkle. Sorry, maker. I just read that one. Mom said you'd wrinkle. That's a great story. We haven't talked about titles, and we usually do that a lot. But just saying an elephant taking a bath or an elephant in the water, those are we see that. That's a as my sister used to say, duh. So telling a story, creating that, Mom said you'd wrinkle, awesome story. Makes you go even further and say, okay, is mom standing off the camera with the towel, yelling at the little one to say, yo, get out of the water. It's time for dinner. I mean, all these kind of crazy things go through your mind, at least my mind. I think the tonal range is good throughout. I like the story. The tight crop is good. We can really see the story is messing around in the water with the excuse me, with the trunk and even the eyeball is kind of wide, so it looks like it got busted, you know. The down thing I see, it looks like it's maybe just a little bit over sharpened. Um, and again, I'm starting to see, starts picking up highlights get to be looking more like dust spots. And it goes over the top of nice soft transitions from grays to whites and so on. It starts becoming more like a pencil drawing, pencil sketch, right on the border, but I maybe would back off on the sharpening on this one just a hair. Bert, what do you think?
Well, I mean that's a great point. There's like again, sometimes taking it a little too far creates other issues. You've given it nice texture and you've given it nice, look at that beautiful texture in
Yeah.
here. I'm going, I got to keep changing color. You guys use red. It seems to
You can
work
make
now.
that thicker too in that panel. You can click on the pen and it expands it. You can pick a thicker pencil too if you want.
Oh, like up there. Oh, I see. Yeah, there we go. And oh, pick a thicker pencil. Oh, right there. Duh. Can you tell I don't do a lot of things like
No,
this?
that's okay. There's
I have
also there's
I have
also a marker. Don't
yeah.
change the marker because that goes away in a second. You can
Okay.
circle, then it goes away. So the thickest pencil is the best one. Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
like in Photoshop, I have people. So I mirrored her so that I have
I
people.
have people.
I like
Anyway,
that.
but
I don't
look
have
at the
people.
beautiful texture in the wrinkles and everything here, which when you sharpen it, you still got those elongated lines and it still looks pretty nice. But then when you go over into here, like Jeff mentioned, the points of contrast become look like dust spots and you can that's because of the size and the shape of the highlights that are
Yeah.
there. But once you start seeing things that could be over sharpened, then you start looking around at other things. I don't want to, one of the things I thought about doing also was, is it cropped too tight? But no, that's a pretty large animal. Actually, the crop I think works for it. Because an elephant will take a lot more space up than a chipmunk, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Write that down. Don't forget this.
Hang on a sec.
Something you need to know.
How
But
do you spell how do you spell elephant?
I
Oh
didn't
my
know there was going to
gosh.
be a quiz. And then,
Rick,
go ahead, Rick.
I was gonna ask Rick's had something to say, but Bert finish. Sorry.
No, that's it. I was just rambling.
That's what we
Uh,
do best here. So you fit right.
just maybe coming in, toning down just a little bit in this area and along the head here. We've got these specular highlights that I think could be toned down. Now, the last thing this horizon line, guys, I know we don't see it on the right side. Do you get a sense that it's starting to drift up to the right?
Now that you mention it, it's a little bit
Yes.
uneven.
Yes, it could be a little curved too, but yeah. I think if you straighten that out a little bit, you also give a little more uplift to the tusks.
Yeah.
That might create a little more impact too. If it was just, in other words, if you're looking at it, tilt the top up a little and the bottom down a little, I think that might
Yeah.
help it.
Another little trick that I'll do is take your blur tool, make it a big soft edge, and just blur that line so you still have that that separation between the water because you got contrast range, but just making it less obvious can play it down quite a bit too. So it becomes still there's a separation of water and land, but it's a softer line, so it's not as obvious. But yeah, it's definitely clockwise, what, 4 or 5 degrees. It could be straightened up a little bit. Okay.
And again, to our um, colleagues here that are on the show, sounds like nitpicking. My goodness, you're talking about these little dots here that are looking like uh, spots or dust or whatever. And then you're talking about a horizon line. You're talking about these highlights here and there. They are the little things that add up to the big things.
Well,
Yeah.
little things like that are worth a point or two, especially in our competition. We're still doing points. It just creeps up higher. All of a sudden, your 86 might be a 90 because of those little things. So,
Yeah.
And that's such a great point. And as judges, were nitpicky is a word that might not always like to use,
well,
but
it sounds derogatory.
it's our job to separate the really well executed things from the things that are not quite as well executed. No different than you go to a blockbuster movie and they've used all the CGI and they've used the beautiful lighting and things like that. And then you see one that maybe the budget wasn't quite as high and they don't have that capability, or they elected not to take as much time to refine it because they're playing in a different ball field. Well, judging is one ball field. It doesn't matter who enters. You're all entering into the same judging. So you got to, we don't judge prints against each other, but we judge the quality on all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the major leagues. This is the World Series right here, if you have to go, in my point of view. This is called Reflections of Stealth. Again, another, I think, awesome title because it really tells a story. We get this guy, as these birds do, they kind of creep up on their catch. They kind of sneak around. You don't hear them, you don't see them until they're going after the fish or the bird or whatever they're going after. So that's a great story right there. You've got a green palette throughout, so the green mat works here. The key line is good. It's just subtle, separating this image from the frame, so it's good. And a lot of times you have to be careful when you put a key line at the edge of your mat. If it gets lost in the image, and it doesn't here, that usually something a judge will point out. So if you ever have a key line and you're trying to color coordinate it, but you lose it in the top half, make it a detached, Rick, is that the word? So it's up here and not attached like that. But this is done very well. This is one of those things in this conversation. I almost may have taken this and flipped it because we kind of read left to right, so maybe feel more comfortable going left to right. But let's just play and see what you guys think. So what I was saying real quick is I'm going to go in here and go with image rotation, and I'm going to flip it. And that's not what I meant to do. I always do the wrong one. I know what I wanted to do, so go with that.
Flip horizontal.
I know that, but I clicked on the wrong one.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you guys think? Now it's kind of we're taught to read left to right. It's not being judged in China or Japan. So I think we're okay. So does this make it any stronger, any more better, is my catch line? Or what do you think, guys?
I think I like walking into it from this side, from the way the presenter made it.
Yeah,
This way here. Okay.
I think I like walking into the bird from left to right because that's how I'm walking into it. On the other one, I was in the bird walking out. For me, this is almost more of a walking into it.
Cool.
What are you guys' thoughts on lighting?
It's a time of day question.
It doesn't have a strong direction of light.
Yeah.
That's where I was going with that.
It's got nice illumination, but the light's pretty consistent across the grass and across the bird. And maybe at a little bit later time with the sun coming down, you'd have that more gradation, which would give you more impact.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I was kind of going with that is, I mean, it's strong lighting, but it's not, as I see it, definitive lighting, if you could use that term. It tends to look flat to me. Even though there's brilliance in the lighting, there's still a flatness to the overall lighting, as I see it.
And I think you see it in the grass. It's pretty much flat all the way across.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, and this isn't something the photographer has control over, but the reflection of the bird close to the bird where the water is stiller has one look to it. And then as you get further out into the water where there's obviously more water moving, it's got more ripples in it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of not replicated, the bird. It's more abstract than what it is in the body. And that doesn't always connect for me.
Right.
Well, I think sometimes, at least in what my dad taught me, what I learned along the way was the decision that you have to make, whether this is a competition worthy image or not, is these things we're saying, the light direction. If it's the middle of the day, it's a very cool picture. It's a cool bird. But I think that's my echo that I'm hearing. Weird.
Yeah. Jeff, on that story, my wife Cindy and I, and for those of you that don't know, my wife's also a photographer. She's the better photographer. We had that exact conversation on the way home today.
Yeah.
We were talking about competition, and I told her, well, you are a better photographer. She says, well, your problem is you don't always select the right images. I've got all these accolades, all these different things, and I just got told by my wife, I don't always make the right selection. So don't take that as a negative. Just take it as sometimes you need other eyes on things.
That's right.
Yeah. And I've known
know,
Cindy as long as I've known Bert, and she's not mean, she's just right. Well, we've got a dozen images to go, so I'm going to move ahead and move on. Not to say you guys cut your comments short. I'm just telling you we still need some bad jokes. So this is called Remnants of My Past. Ricky, this is Rick Valley, man. What do you think?
Yeah. You know, let's talk about lighting to begin with. I mean, this is just so, for me, nostalgic in its traditional type of lighting. We've got a great ratio from camera left to right, and then a really nice kicker on camera right that adds that extra dimension and then separation of the shoulder, especially camera right. Um, I'm thinking maybe we might want to come in and, excuse me, come in and maybe tone down just slightly. Um, I'm gonna guess it's a dog tag.
Yeah.
Uh, to just to take that value down just a little bit, because we have such beautiful lighting. And but before I go further than that, because this is such an important and integral part of the image, we certainly don't want to take it to an extreme, but maybe just touch a touch more toning down. But I mean, the expression in the eyes, the lighting is held very well. I think that the color of the mat is very appropriate. This is one of those images where the key line, which I consider attached because it snaps to the image all the way around, is handled very, very well because we see it all the way around the image. Um, I don't know if, we got the nice background light going on. Does that mean it's a little heavy up in the corners? Maybe, maybe not. Should it be a little bit more even? These are things that we want to consider personally. Um, I think I would take the vignette effect, because it's to me it looks like the background light is what created the vignette, and that's a sign of a person that knows what they're doing with their lighting, rather than just popping a vignette in front of the lens as in the old days, or applying a vignette in post. But you guys, your thoughts?
Go ahead, Bert.
Oh, yeah, just a nice representation of this man. The few things Rick brought up, great points on the vignetting on the background. I think I would have just a little bit less light on the background so that vignette doesn't, the natural vignette that I'm not drawing on. Whoop. Sorry, I changed my cursor. You know, if this light back here, which
There you
also
go.
spills in back here, was a little less intense, it wouldn't create quite as much of a vignette on the background. Because I think what's happening is my eyes going past him to that background because of the brightness there a little bit. And I think the same thing, I feel the same thing on the face. I think the density value between the outfit and the face has such a wide range. I would have certainly liked to have seen a little less light density on the mask of his face that I think would keep it in key with the whole thing just a little bit more. And then the final thing that I, personal preference thing, I think it's cropped tight on the top. It's so tight to the top of the head. It makes me feel like, like when you're standing in a room, I don't have this problem, but people that are very tall get in a room and they kind of hunch down a little bit because they don't want to get to the ceiling and knock their head. I almost got the same feeling with him, like there's just not enough room above him to give him room to exist in. That's just a couple things, but I agree on the mat. I think it's great selection. I agree toning that down a little bit certainly couldn't help on the dog tags, but well executed, nice rim light. Look at the nice separation on the clothing right there, which
Yeah.
is from that same kick light there. That really is done well.
One of the things I'll just add, I agree with everything the guys said. It's a superb image, but just little tweaks. Um, and I think it's again kind of a maybe a generational thing or what's common, what's popular kind of thing. But a lot of the portraiture, because I'll sit and look at photography websites of photographers all over the world. And this seems to be the trend that, and even some of the guys that I follow who have, 100,000 followers and they do black and white portraits, the cropping is very tight at the top of the head. It's just something that's being done. Right or wrong, I don't know. What we grew up with, yeah, I kind of agree. It could have a little more space. But yeah, what a magnificent
Good
story.
point.
The expression, the roundness of the face. It's well done. Serene encounter. Bert, what's your thoughts?
Great capture. Forget the name of these birds. Is that the crazy birds that you find on
So,
islands?
Puffin, yeah.
Often.
Puffin, that's it.
These are the
Puffin.
guys that they look really awkward when they fly, but they can dive like, I don't know, 400 or 500
Right.
feet or some crazy number like that.
See, I'm from Chicago, so crazy bird that you see on the islands exactly is the same word as puffins. You've got, I think,
So you were right, you're saying, okay.
yeah. I was actually on a trip one time and I almost got trampled by a photographer, a fellow photographer, because we saw puffins and he wanted to get up front to get them. So they're fun to capture. Great capture, great positioning of the bird looking back. I think it's given a strong, the chest coming out, the chest going to the right
Yeah.
like that, and the counterbalance of the face going off to this side just gives it a lot of movement and a lot of uh, I don't even know the word I'm looking for. A lot of design and a lot of impact.
Yeah.
The one thing is the background again, that bokeh in the background that's there. I would mask it down and try to take it down a little bit brighter because I'm losing the bird a little bit in there. I see the bird, I see the details of all the bird going around there, but I'm still not having it project like I think I would like to see it if it was a little bit darker.
Well, yeah, nowadays you can go into the masking tools of both Lightroom and Photoshop and just select that background and just you can tone it down. You can even drop a circular vignette in the background to give it that, like we just had in the other image of the soldier, a little bit of a vignette, things like that that just kind of really pull us back into the eye. Maybe I go in and just add. There's some nice. Let me do one thing here. You can see there's some nice color in the eye. It's kind of a brown, but there's definitely the pupil. So I would lighten that up just a hair so that you get a little bit more definition. Anytime you see an animal, a human being where there's no light in the eyes, it has a dead feeling to it. So it's okay to go and lighten those eyes, lighten the color, like pupil, whatever the eye, just enough so that it gives it just a little punch. But this is such a cool image, catching the bird looking back over its shoulder, that close, really powerful, technically done very well. Rick, you want to add any more to that?
Yeah, just again, coming back to lighting, bright day. Um, darn it, just a little flat as far as the lighting is for me. To the point where even though we have that, the bokeh raton going on in the back, um, it's still it's still
Nice.
has that flatness where
Yeah.
to me where the bird is coming up against the background. So, but I don't want to be harsh about it, but if we don't offer these suggestions, then we're not doing what we're
It's our job.
wanting
Well,
to
and
do.
when you get that bright light that's kind of flat on the animal, you lose that roundness, you lose that depth, even though you can say, well, it's white here and black up here. But if this lighter was stronger coming into the face, the
Right.
mask of the face would have more, this would drop down a little bit. You'd feel more of a turn, you'd feel more of a contour of the body instead of that flat light just flattens everything out. And I get a kick out of, I look at a lot of photographers who are doing portraits these days. And of course, the big thing now is to have that 4x6 softbox right behind the camera. And they're still using a main light, and I kind of wonder why, because the subject is still very flatly lit. And I'm like, But hey, that's a whole other evening. So we'll go
Yeah,
off.
Jeffy, we've talked about this before, I think many times. The idea or the purpose of lighting or light itself, whether it's a landscape, a portrait, a commercial piece, still life, whatever, the purpose of light is to sculpt the subject.
Here,
So,
here.
and I'm just not seeing the sculpting that I would want to see here. So,
Exactly. That
Well,
builds the dimension. We've got two dimensions, height and width. We see it, our brain sees the roundness. We see that flatly lit or nicely lit. We see that with our brains, but you capture it like this, you've lost that third dimension. It's our job as photographers to bring that back to the scene, and that's why we learn to see light.
and creating a ratio of your light is critical to that roundness. I've had clients and other photographers say, "Well, I'm not sure I like the shadows like that." And I'd say, "Well, let's take the shadows out and look at it. What do you like about this now?" And once they see the roundness that ratio and direction causes, that's when you really can see the difference.
There you go.
That and then everything that everybody looks at on Instagram and Facebook is that flatly lit, no light pattern at all, and that's what they're used to now. So they think
Right.
that's correct lighting. So
Because that's easy lighting.
this is called The Buck Stops Here. Again, great story. Go ahead,
Hmm.
Bert. What do you think?
I think the buck stopped right in the right spot.
Yeah.
I mean, here you've got a square presentation. Somebody had a Hasselblad back out in there. Um, I love the placement of the deer, and you can see such nice light coming around the antlers there. Look at the separation light
Yeah.
that's coming from with that backlight situation, yet you still have nice exposure into the body, which isn't always easy to do when you get that light coming from one direction. But there's actually some fill coming in. I don't know I guess maybe the the red rock must have a reflection coming back,
It
right?
does. It does. Look at the color of the light on the deer's aberration.
I started thinking, where did this color come from? And then I'm like, well, yeah, you know so much about lighting. Yeah, it bounces off of here. There's another light source. You got it going into it and coming out of it. Great placement, great scene. Again, you've got all these different colors of blues and oranges and greens together that can be distracting, and it does take your attention up here, but I still keep coming back to the deer, which is successfully done. Could it be a little bit more standing out from there? Yes, but keep in mind, deer don't always want to be seen, right?
That's true. That's true.
So they're not going to stand out there and, hey, look at me, I got my red and white shirt on here, and you can notice me down in the weeds. No, they
And then
want
you
to
hear
know.
kaboom.
Yeah.
There goes Bambi's mama.
Yeah, but what a nice capture. I mean, I think that the timing was good, the placement was good, and the lighting's really nice.
Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Avalos?
We talked about the little cleanups. I was looking at this and I was drawn to this area right here of grass behind the
Oh,
yeah.
grass behind the ass. You can say it.
Just that would be so easy to just clean up because I thought, man, that can't be the tail. No, the tail's here.
Right.
But as a judge, if something draws your attention, even for a split second, then you have to start thinking. You don't want a judge to think
Isn't that true?
because they're not good. They're not good thinkers.
At least not the direction we want them to think.
Exactly.
Another good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, this is where flipping an image upside down confuses your mind for a minute to be as simple, as blunt as possible, and you start seeing these things. And then one other thing that, and again, very minor, but the clouds. I like the lower clouds. It's more of it looks like a longer exposure, kind of a blanket of clouds. And then there's that one little gathering of clouds in the upper left-hand corner. Good, bad, or indifferent? No, I would remove them because they are asking for my attention. I'd rather have a blue sky, maybe put a little gradient in there just to bring it down to have that gradation. But just little stuff like that, because it's pulling my eye away from what we want the viewer to look at.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really liked the composition on that. That was good.
The Campground Sentinel. Go ahead, Bert. What you think?
It made us all smile, didn't it?
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, we got the coy little pose of this fox, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Not being an outdoorsy guy. But it's cute. Look at the catch lights in the eyes. Look at the placement of the head coming back across the body again. It's got that cute, coy little look to it. You've got nice diagonal of the paws coming down to the stairs there. It's not posed on a. This definitely isn't done in the zoo or in your studio. It's definitely in something natural with the with all the look that it has there of the worn wood behind it. Again, great placement off to the right. So if you put the rule of thirds on that thing, the eyes are probably hitting that top right power point.
Mhm.
And then I'm a big diagonal guy. When I teach portraiture a lot, especially in my groups and things like that, I'm always looking for diagonals. I just think it gives it a great compositional element. It moves the eye from left to right and up to down. I think there's a lot of things that were done here well. I might want to see a little more space around it so that the animal is captured as almost actual size to the relationship of the space
Yeah,
around it.
good point.
But that's personal preference. I mean, that doesn't mean it's right. But it's a great capture.
What do you think about we've got some, I'll say black holes just for lack of, do these bother you at all, this bottom and then this area? When we know what it is, our brain knows what it is, but does that bother you at all? Does that pull you away?
It doesn't for me
Okay.
because I know there's no light underneath there. That's the crawl space under the stairs,
Right.
whatever you call it. That I understand. I guess what it is, if you understand what it is, it doesn't bother you nearly as much. And you kind of alluded to that, Jeff. It
Well
doesn't bother
said.
you as much as if you don't really understand why it's so
Yeah,
dark.
if you go in there and you're going, what the heck should be there, then you know that okay, there's the problem. But
Right.
we look at that, we know there's no light, move on. Your brain doesn't get stuck with it.
You
So
know, and what would be there if you lightened it up? It'd probably be cobwebs and old splintered bits of wood back there.
dead body, something like that, maybe some
Well,
Schlitz beer
yeah.
cans, you never know. Rick, anything you want to add, my friend?
Yeah, I agree totally. I would like to have seen a little bit more space around it. It's pretty tight as far as the crop is concerned. In the black, the void areas, that we were talking about. How much can you open them up? I mean, how much detail is there to begin with, to the point where if you open them up, that it just wouldn't look realistic. But having said that, totally, a natural setting. A concern again for me was the crop, that it was pretty tight, because it doesn't even look to me like a full-grown fox. Maybe
Oh,
it
looks
is.
like a little one. See, there's in the shadows, you can see what's there. Yeah.
Yeah. And that to me doesn't really add to the image. So having it, if we agree that it's not even a full-grown fox, allowing more space to allow the fact that it is,
Yeah, a little guy.
a juvenile.
Yep, totally agree.
Well, it's like, just when you think about things, the smaller images look at an image, the more docile they'll look, the more younger they might look. If it was a more aggressive cat of some sort, coming in closer would be a more of aggressive in your face type presentation.
Yeah.
So I think space becomes an important part here.
It really does because when you get tighter, it makes it more tension, more immediate, more. If you make it smaller, you get this cute little guy, his own little space, like he's almost lost or he's just wandering through that nobody's supposed to notice, kind of things.
Mhm.
Okay, moving along real well. The next one is called The Confidence of Youth. Rick, jump in, man.
Yeah. Again, we've got some very, very nice lighting on the mask of the face and the hair. Can you bring us in a little closer, Jeffy, to the eyes?
Well, sure.
Thank you very much.
Just ask.
There will be a little extra in your envelope this week.
And my stocking.
Okay. And the reason I asked that question is that, I saw the whites of the eyes, even at the size that we were first saw it. And I was thinking, boy, they're pretty bright. So you guys can chime in on that. But if we want to take it back down, Jeffy, again, we're talking about the background and uh, the Boca Raton, and whatever it is back there, is it saying something about this subject where they are? It looks like he's sitting crosswise on a chair. Um, is the background adding information to the story? And I don't mean information to the photograph, but
Right.
information to the story
Story.
as someone, as the viewer. And especially with the circles, we used to call them in the tree circles of confusion, but
Right.
um, what is it adding? And then we get out in here into the lower area where there's a lot of um, blackness that is void of detail. I'm not expecting to see, detail like in the ribs of what I'm guessing is this chair, but it's just heavy to me. Well, the overall vignetting, I guess, is what I'm talking about. But man, for me on the plus side, great lighting, great separation of the hair from the background, great expression. I think the photographer has a really good connection with their subject in how they directed him. But the technical things that I just talked about are what concern me.
Yeah, Bert, go ahead.
Oh, you've got a really powerful pose and a powerful expression and a really powerful image, and with a difficult shirt. I mean, let's face it, that's a white shirt
It's true.
that is going to draw a lot of attention away from you. Um, but the photographer's done a great job of capturing the image. Now, I question the things that I think don't need to be in there. It was brought up, Rick brought it up underneath. Why what does this how does it help the story having that little bit of chair and shirt underneath his arms? Does that help the story? Does the circles of confusion back there help the story? Does this little hot spot right here help the story? If you're going to go with a high impact, high contrast image, why not get rid of the parts that draw your eye away? Get rid of this and take it to all my attention goes right. It's a moving target. Um,
There.
There you go.
I'm gonna have to make myself a drink pretty quick to keep up with you, Jeff.
Hold on to your chair, Bert.
But I mean, your impact is right there. You've done a great job with it. You've almost got a sports type lighting on there. You can see the cross lighting with the more highlight here and more highlight here with the shadow coming down on both sides, more of it on this side. But you've got this triangular Rembrandt almost patch on both sides, almost of equal density. So when you're doing things like that, you're looking to create impact and a different look. So I don't want to really see all these other things here. I want to go right there. And it's some of these things are keeping me from there. Now, with the white shirt, would I tone it down? In this case, I probably wouldn't because it just becomes looking unnatural. But you're going to have to allow it to be part of the composition, part of the story, part of the contrast. And I actually think because it's brighter in here, it works more with the white shirt.
Yeah, and
Does that make
as
sense?
a black and white, as a black and white, I totally agree with you, Bert, because we have a great balance. You're talking about, the brightness, not the brightness, but um, more of a high key uh, shirt. But look at the highlights in the forehead and the five facial planes that we all know
Yeah.
about. You know, they balance the brightness of the shirt
Mhm.
as I see it. Anyway, that's
You
my
know,
story, and I'm
yeah,
sticking to it.
this is a case one of those where maybe less is more. A
Yeah.
little less of those things in the
Sometimes.
back might be more.
Sometimes, that's for sure. Just got a few more to go. We're doing pretty well. This is called the fire starter. So this is I think like one of these reportage images that we talk about that's more about storytelling, and it is definitely telling a story. Here's the guy he's starting the fire for his camp, for his village, for the picnic, whatever. And it just has it's hard because you've got the plaid going in there, but I think it still works because it does fit more into the style of a villager or something, even though stick, the walking stick, leaning up against his head, like he just wrapped his arm around it because he needed to get the fire rolling. So it's very intense. The smoke helps draw us into the scene, the background. You could questionably maybe make this a little bit darker, the greens and this back here, but I don't know that it's that. You don't want to lose the smoke in there, but it could be just a little bit deeper. But I mean, man, look at the beautiful skin tones and the tones of the color of the shirt, even through the smoke. His hand's a little soft. I don't, it's so subtle. I don't mind that because the story is more between him and the fire. So I think it's done real well. The mat, I don't know. Maybe I would have tried something a little lighter because again, mostly it works down here, but mostly this brightness here to the dark here. A little harsh, but maybe it's not that. What do you think, Bert?
Um, I think that we've got a nice capture in here, but I am not enthralled with this part on the left-hand side. I think the brightness of it, I know there's some smoke coming over here, but it doesn't continue the story over here because it gets lost into this brightness. I think the whole interesting part of the image is in there.
So you're talking like a different crop then?
And that's how, especially if I was going to take this dark black mat. You're creating a big contrast between here and here. It's more in key from here to here.
Right.
And it just, I have this whole, for me, and it's just for me, this is dead space. It's really not helping the
You're
image
thinking
to
going
me.
maybe over more like this.
I would take it maybe even in more than that, but that if it was my image, I would do that. And then if you want the black mat, keep it on the black mat and place it off to this side. So in other words, what you're seeing, what Jeff is showing right now, can you go back one movement, or does it not do that?
No.
No, okay. Put your crop on there again, but don't click the crop part.
So bring it down bring it down like a
Crop it like you were going to. Go
Okay.
back to what you just did, but don't click it out.
Gotcha.
Because what I want, just leave it like that for a second.
Okay.
Now look at that right there. He's got all the power right in here. And then right here, what if that black mat continued all in this area right here? What if that was black? You'd still have him off to the side into the PowerPoint, and you'd be bringing him into the PowerPoint issue, but you wouldn't have what I find distracting. Now, Jeff seemed to have more interest in it. So that's why you have multiple judges on everything.
Yeah.
And it might not make it go into the merit category and stuff, but I think that's where I see the interest of the image.
Well, I think that's too when we sit there on a panel of 5 judges, you make your
Yeah.
point, and the next guy says something, and you sit there and go, no, I like that even better. Because just what you're saying, it gives it to picture the image staying this almost square, just having a heavier black mat on the left and the image off to the right. That's just another creative. So it's kind of giving us the best of both worlds there.
I'll color it in. How long do you think that'll take?
And you know, if I may,
Yeah, we're creatives. I'm sure they get what I'm saying.
if I can throw this in, I think you guys nailed the points that need to be nailed. But with regard to judging, and Jeff just mentioned 5 people on a panel, and Bert's referred to that this evening as well. Open-mindedness as a judge, to listen to someone's comment, and you think, well, shoot, I was so sold on this image for this reason, that reason, that reason, and someone down the line on the panel points out other points. Well, there's a fine line between a judge saying, well, I have this conviction, and this is where I feel this image should be. So there's a distinction between, how can I say it? I'm gonna let the music play. There's a fine line between, as a judge, between digging your feet in the ground and being flexible, or saying,
Yeah.
or, I should say, digging your feet in the ground and saying, I really have a conviction about this image. So I think that's important for for all of us to understand that, judges, we all have our opinions, but we're charged to be open and listen and give when we need to give, but be firm in what our convictions are about the image. And hopefully we can convey those convictions verbally when it comes our
Yeah.
time to
Could I
vocalize.
expound on that for a second, Jeff? Do we have-
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
as a seasoned judge, which means old, I think you start appreciating things more. I'm sure some of you watching this are maybe in the beginning of stages of judging, or maybe you're never going to judge, but you'll sit there and watch judging, and in your head you'll go, "That's a 78 or that's an 82," and it comes up and it's 78 or it comes up in 82, and you're like, "See, I could be a judge. I knew that. I knew it was right there." Well, guess what? Guess what's more fun? When it comes up in 82 and you got a 94 on your scoreboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is when you really, and I think I'm not speaking for all of us, but I'll bet you're
Oh,
going to
no,
get
absolutely.
That's when you challenge yourself and you challenge the other judges to listen to what you say. And then also you need to listen to what they say and either move or bring people with you, whatever it takes. And that's the fun part of it. Because this is art. This isn't mathematics. This is art. And everybody looks at it a little bit differently. And it's a lot of fun to be wrong or
Well,
to be the only one right.
and that's why all the years we've accepted so little pay to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that goes back to we were having a conversation before you came on, Bert, about just this kind of a thing where a judging panel and how we look at it, things. And I was on I don't remember what the committee where we chose the judging panels for national, is how we would look at the personalities of the people on our list and say, okay, this one's going to feed off of this one. This one's a little harsh by himself, but she's got a good opinion and they'll blend. And just that's kind of how it's all put together. So it's very much teamwork. And don't you agree that you've sat on a panel for even just the morning session? What a sense of oneness with that panel of going in the direction. And it's not that you necessarily all scoring it, we're all coming up with a 78 together. But when somebody comes up with that 95 and they point out why, everybody goes, I didn't see that. Look at that. Yep, you're right. Or, nah, you're way out of bounds. And everybody, it's a pretty fun thing. It's a pretty fun, special
It is, and it's
part of
it's great for the makers to hear different opinions on their image.
Yeah. And I've always found judging to be so humbling.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
To evaluate images that I'm looking at and in awe of, and I'm thinking, why am I even sitting here?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't do that.
Well, we think that about you all the time.
And then
So you would have to put up with Bert every day.
Exactly.
Well,
and
the
then,
other side
and
of it,
then
go ahead.
same
Richard.
thing, sitting in awe of the panelists that I'm thinking, man, I learned more than I've ever said tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the fun part is it's not just about delivering your message. It's about learning, listening. And I've gone home from many judges and said, I remember that one image. I want to try something like that myself. So you're just always getting some
Mhm.
good ideas. Moving along, we only got about 5 more to go here, so we're doing pretty well. This one is pretty cool. I like this one. It's called The Frigid March.
Ooh.
And that's exactly what you want to hear from a judge when your image comes up. Rick, go ahead. What do you think?
Can you bring it up a little bit more?
I can.
A click or two?
Again, oops, there we go. I don't have the control of going a little bit, so it's got to either be too big or too small.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine. That's
okay.
fine. Man, this is just, you can take it back. I just want to see the composition. Excuse me, guys, my voice is going
We're
south.
losing you.
I can't think of that artist's name back in the day, the 1800s, early 1900s, but this is so reminds me of that. We've got this almost monochromatic image, but yet the tint of color on the animals composition to me is terrific. I'm looking at the presentation, gosh, if I was, just sitting there evaluating this image, initially the impact just takes me away.
Off
I
the
wouldn't,
charts, right?
oh yeah, I wouldn't expect directional lighting because we're in an overcast situation. But the power of the image for me is in the composition, the presentation. Um, as I can see it, there's detail where there needs to be detail because in a scene like this, I mean, there's even though we have an overcast situation, you're going to have areas that are on the lighter side and darker side that are just going to not show the detail. But man, I can see this in the lodge at Yellowstone.
Above the fireplace, 100-inch print.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Bert, what's your thoughts?
I've been there. I've seen this. I've been there. I've seen it live. I've seen somebody go to photograph this live.
Yeah.
This is not this. If this is a catch shot, you're the luckiest photographer in the world. And I would be surprised if it was. For me, this is all about executing your plan. This photographer selected a location. This photographer selected a time. I would love to have a young judge on here going, I think they missed exposure. And you go, wait a minute. If you've ever
Shut up.
been there, you know that mist is coming across. That's atmospheric. That's
Yeah.
coming off the water. And this shot doesn't always happen. I sat with a friend of mine in Yellowstone that sat there and set this shot up and wait for the sun to get there and wait for the the buffalo to come into the picture, bison, whatever they are. I'm from Chicago, remember? And
You're a White Sox fan, so these are Cubs here. Never mind.
well, never mind, my score just went down.
Old bad joke.
But the everything worked for the photographer. The moment worked. The lighting lifted enough to get detail into those animals. The positioning of the water coming in from the left and leading right out to the animals. The execution of the white with the white snow, with the white mat,
Exactly.
with the positioning. Just this is expertly
Yeah.
performed. And it's hard, right down to the cropping, what they've selected as their cropping, to the PowerPoints, to the 100 inches across would be magnificent.
Yeah.
And it would hold together after you blew up, and it would hold together, which is even more amazing.
I'm not going to offer a score for this image because we talked about that earlier, Bert, before we got on. But I think it would do very, very well in competition. And my hope for the maker was that they would sell 1 million of these, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is one of those situations where white with no detail works.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You don't want all the detail in the snow. You got just enough to tell the story. There's just enough in the crest of this little hill, carries through, leads us into them.
Yep.
Just enough detail in the bank at the crest, at the water and the snow. This doesn't need to have any. We don't know if this is a hill or clouds. Doesn't matter. It's mood that we're captured here. It's a story of this thing. This is one of those high scores in my book for sure.
Yeah. Well anticipated, well put together, well finished.
And this is kind of like that situation in print competition when 100 comes up or a high score, then the next person's going, oh shit, here comes mine.
Take a breath.
And I'm not making any comments about that by saying it, that I'm just
Right.
proving a
No,
point.
just
Yeah, just making a point. So this is called Tiffany. Okay, Mr. Portrait Man, Ricky, what do you think?
Oh, just a great, allow me to make the assumption, like a senior portrait uh, photograph. And what's cool about this image is it appears to me, that it's in natural light because we have this really strong, almost sunlight coming into her face. I could be totally wrong, that it's a supplemental lighting. But that aside, very nice head and shoulder portrait. Let's talk again about the Boca Raton and the circles of confusion, which are natural with the lens aperture that's being used. But should we go in and tone them down? Should we look at these areas that kind of encroach on the border of the image? You know, all these little things. Now, as a high impact portrait, do we say it is, or it's maybe marginal as a high impact portrait? You know, I'm gonna kind of push to the side that maybe it's more on the marginal side. You know, we talked about the lighting, we talked you know, about the background composition. Is it very strong? Is it something that grabs our attention, or is it more on the, yeah, that's kind of common type of a look? I'm seeing, like, you know, things here for retouching in terms of hair and stray hair, that type of thing that maybe can be cleaned up. You know, I'm thinking it's a very, very nice head and shoulder senior portrait. So I'm going to defer to you guys' expertise as well.
Go ahead, Bert. What do you think?
Or they're saying the south side of Chicago, use guys.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I think Rick hit it on the nose. It's a nice portrait. It's saleable. There's nothing wrong with it that wouldn't take it, that the mom would love it, dad would love it, the senior would love it. But when you're going into a competition, a salon competition, you're looking for something a little more, I guess, is what I think that's what Rick was alluded to.
Absolutely.
Maybe
Yeah.
a little more direction of light. I see catch lights pretty dead center. I see things in here that draw me away from her face, which is so beautiful. I see this right up here at the top, that hot spot where you got all these lines of confusion kind of going up in diagonals in a triangle to the top. But here's a case where maybe propping it down a little bit would get rid of one of those things that might cause confusion. I see things on her sleeve that are there and are natural, but draw my attention. And I don't want to be drawn down there. There's nothing down there that that requires me to get my attention down there. Rick brought up the retouching. This really bothers me. I mean, we've got the hair blowing there, and I would definitely take that down because it interrupts the nice line of her hair that comes right down here with this hair blowing out with, you know, and the light's now coming through it. Now, this one down here on the bottom right, you would say, oh, would you take that one out too because it's a little distracting? I wouldn't take that one out. And the reason I wouldn't take that one out is because everything around it is kind of moving in different directions. So there's no need to, it's okay. For me, it's okay that there's a little bit of hair out of place there. But for me, it's not okay that I can see this hair with the light going through it, but I can still see that it's hair that's blown out of place. So if that makes any sense, and again, going back to the lighting, it's a pleasant, nice lighting, but I think it's overlit into the face. There's just too much light that's taken away a lot of the details of her face for me.
Well, that brings up the conversation we've always had about, is this a PPA merit or the green merits? This is worth a lot of green merits. You know, the mom, the
Absolutely.
family absolutely love this. So that's great. We go into what we're talking about again, not to be picky, not to be fine, but it's those kind of things that will make it higher scoring image. And one of the things that was always drilled into my head is clothing. And you see these little, let me get a little pen going here. I think I have one already. The little folds of clothing that are, that's not so bad, but these kind of things, I was always told to get rid of those kind of things. Let them, I mean, this is a model. This is something that we're photographing for a catalog. I worked for Sears catalog for a couple of years, and man, the stuff we did to clothes to make it fit that body perfectly was the same thing that we're looking for competition. Again, is it over the top? Probably, but it makes this conversation a lot shorter if we did those kind of things. Okay.
But
Yeah.
you know,
This
the green merits that you brought up is a good point. Mom would love a 16 by 20 of that over her,
Oh, absolutely.
over her nightstand or fireplace, whatever she might put, because that's her daughter. That's the
Yep.
special part of it.
Yeah.
It's her daughter.
And to commend the maker, this style of photograph in their repertoire, if you want to call it that, they will sell by the boatloads every time.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely agreed. Okay. Let us go with Up You Go. Again, this is going to have to be enlarged because of the size of the file. So if we get into any extra noise or anything, that's just because we're up to 300% here. So, but what a great story. I mean, look at Up You Go, bringing the little one up. Got a handful of mom's hair. Um, Mom's kind of like, the hell are you doing? But it's mom and baby, or adult and baby, the little hand down there pushing up on belly to kind of climb up. So I mean, it's a great story. The expression on mom is priceless. I mean, just look at that. It's kind of like, what? It's like this is the first time mom, and she's going, what did I get into here? What happened? Now, going on the technical side of it, and again, in competition, we don't refer from image to image, but just because we had that other little chimp on probably the same couple here, the color tone, and I think it's just the basic white balance is off here because we have a lot of green cyan in the shadows. And let me see if you guys don't mind, I'm going to do just real quick, grab a levels layer. Let's just I'll take the black eyedrop tool and see if we can't find the darkest dark here. Let's go with maybe, let's see what we get a little bit more. See that's kind of more, I feel a little more realistic in tones. Again, I wasn't there to shoot it, so I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I see Bert shaking his head.
Oh yeah.
So by just going here, this is washed out, soft, low contrast. And again, we've got greens and cyans in there that a lot of times say underexposed. So it doesn't mean necessarily the original image was underexposed or bad exposure, but the raw file wasn't processed. I hate to use the word properly because I don't want to slap any hands, but it could have been processed more in a way that gives us this kind of a feel, which to me seems more lifelike, more realistic. Guys, what do you think?
Much more impact here. It's the contrast in the grays and the whites and the blacks. It's just much more interest there. You're taking my eye and going from, oh, that's pleasant, and whoa, all these different grays floating around to you pop the other one on, and it is impact. It just changes the whole thing. And again, with that green background, I might be converting this to black and white just to keep the tonal continuity going across it and not give me a contrast in color from grays to greens. Look at that.
Hmm.
Jeffy kind of knows how to work that machine, doesn't he? But look at the difference from where we started to where we're at now.
Yeah.
Images have different levels of completion or different levels of style or different levels of impact, and just playing with something like that, it's kind of like mats, or it's kind of like cropping. Just different ways of doing it will create a completely different feel and a completely different score.
Well, that's the bottom line. And what we're doing here is that, yeah, it's a different feel, but we're looking for score. And again,
Right.
just by going from here to here, look at how all of a sudden the eyes are so much more intense in its expression, its feeling. Maybe a little bit dark, I'd back off on the shadow, but yeah, this to me just gives it that much more of a powerful power punch.
Yeah, your eyes go right to that face so
Yeah.
much quicker this way.
Rick, you want to add something more to it?
In terms of story, um, and I think you guys nailed all of the technical stuff. And I'm looking at the story. I may be way, way off base, but I'm looking at the matted fur or whatever of the babe, and especially in the back of the head. And I almost get the feeling, is this a newborn? Um,
I
Looks
would
like it
think
does.
so. I would say yes.
Yeah.
so to me, there's quite a story here, giving
Absolutely.
birth and then the protection that the mother is wanting to have that child or that little guy, gal, or whatever, up on what it was the title come up. What was it?
Hang on. Up you go.
Okay.
So
But
yeah,
anyway, I was just captivated by the title, which I
yeah.
think was handled quite well.
Another thing I'll throw
And
at
the
you.
story, I
This is
mean,
this is what happens while you don't want to judge to look at it too long. Um, this area over here, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. And I don't want to say it's wrong or anything, but you as the photographer shot it, you know what's going on there. But when you offer it to somebody to look at, it's kind of odd. And because of that, you might want to not necessarily eliminate it by cropping all the way through it, but just darkening this, lightening this so it becomes, and then making it the whole thing a little bit darker. Um, minor thing, but it's those are the kind of things that will throw a judge. And again, we're making the judge think, and that's what we don't want to do. Say, well, what is that? I don't know, but taking yourself out of that position of maker, which is hard to do because you're there, you have the feelings, the emotion, the story, the how many miles you walk to get there. All those things are influencing this story. So you have to take all that out of it and put and present it to a judge or even a gallery, or even a showroom in a way that isn't going to offer these questions, which will take away from the story you're trying to tell, if that makes sense. Okay. So then we have, so we must be saying the right things, Rick, when we do this, because neither one of us have had any death threats or any bags of dog crap on our front porch on fire kind of stuff, you know?
No horse heads under the
No.
blanket.
Okay, up, and away. Bert, go ahead.
Nice lighting coming across there. I like you're seeing all the texture in the bird across the wings, across the neck, into the beak. And you're also seeing those legs. I mean, it just peels out of there really, really nice. I think the photographer selected a nice time of day to make this capture. Placement wise, I like the placement. I think I might have placed it a little bit lower and a little bit more to the right for me. In other words, take a little bit of this side off and a little bit of the bottom off, maybe. That might be what I would like to do. But mostly for this, I think I would change the mat. I am not, I guess maybe you're trying to pick up the blue and the up above the eye in the bird, but it draws me away from the middle of the image. And that was the biggest issue I had, but I think you got a nice image here. It is a busy background, but it's not as in focus as the front. You're getting separation and dimensionality from the bird to the background. So I think it works. The mat really does bother me a lot more than it probably should, but I don't understand it maybe.
Well, I think that's what we were talking about early on. Again, it might have been before you came in the room, is that just selecting colors that are in the scene, it's color coordinated, but it might not be still be right. And that's exactly what Bert's saying. Because this blue, it's actually a very nice blue, and it does coordinate with the color of the tips of the wings and the head of the bird, but it's asking for attention because the rest of the scene is all greens and yellows and golds. So if this mat were more in the tone of a medium darker brown or something, then that bird's really going to stand out. Rick, you want to add any more to that?
No, the mat was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, toning down the branches up here. We talked about the little things that draw attention, and there's another one down here. But yeah, you guys got it.
And I would also, again, we were talking about this earlier, looking at, I'm trying to think of how I can do this, but if this composition, like Bert suggested this, if this were down here a little lower, but let's say the image were, let me get my little pen here. Let's say the actual image was this much taller, longer, higher, however you want to look at it. Long, narrow, maybe even crop in just
Mhm.
a little bit more, so and then crop it about right here. So now you've got this long, narrow, or as my dad used to call them, tall traits. Instead of a portrait, he would call it a tall trait. Remember that word? But it just gives us some more action. It makes it unique. And I tell a lot of people I work with is that we all shoot in the same format. Do something that stands out from everybody else's images. So anytime you can add little trees, I would have maybe toned these highlights down a little bit. I don't mind the tree there, but it also is kind of a it's also kind of creating a barrier for the bird to fly out. So I'd almost look at even removing that, just making it more of this kind of a background. But I don't know, just talking.
You know,
What do I know?
something when you say a tall trait or whatever you want to call it, you look at this image right here, and that's 16 by 28 by 10 ideal format, whatever you want to call it. Here's a little trick we used to do when we sold prints, and I still am a print guy. If I give them a 16 by 20, they could go to Michael's and just about anywhere else and order a 16 by 20 frame. If I present
Exactly.
that thing as a 16 by 28, they
Yep.
can't find it. And guess who can?
Yeah, that's a really good point because you can get it, they can't.
It has nothing to do with print competition, but just a little thing to keep in your
Just in
mind too.
general.
When you're
Uh,
finishing your images, they don't have to, instead of fitting them into a mask, fit them into the proper format.
You
Right.
think about too, all the years that I would do gallery shows in different art galleries and such, is you'd walk into the gallery and if there might be 5 or 6 or 20 photographers, and every single image, forget the topic, forget the subject, but they're all the same size or format. And you come in with squares and long prints, guess who sells more images? Just because they're different. And that's what people want. So, especially in your portrait work and all that stuff, just keep that in mind that's a good sales point because it's not like the guy down the street or Uncle Joe can do with his camera, which is nowadays a big problem. We got two more to go. This is called Welcome. Go ahead, Bert.
I think you got it. I think there's a lot of good things going on here. You've got expression, you've got framing. The vignette either you're going to like or not like. It might be a little bit heavy for a lot of people, but for this situation, it worked for me. Um, but just you grab me at expression on this one. You really got the moment. You've got this happy face. It's framed in the red. You've got it off center a little bit, which I think gives it a little more dynamic look. I might want to pop up the eyes a little bit. Maybe if it was enlarged, we would know more and see if we want to put a little more color in the eyes because that's the only I probably would. That's the only area that is keeping me from thinking I really like it. I think going in there and brightening those areas up in there would really give it even more impact for me. What do you guys think? Is the vignette bothering you, or is that something
Um,
does
to
it
the
work for you in
point,
this one?
yeah, to the point where I'm getting a degradation of color right here and a little bit on this side. Um, I guess I'm not really bothered. Normally, I would be about heavy it is on the top left and right corners, but this is what bothered me was how it took uh,
Good point. Yeah.
it kind of muddied up those colors. Um, but I totally agree with the expression. I'm just trying to see, that I guess. What are your thoughts about the exposure? I'm just feeling it's a little weak overall, at least as I'm seeing it um, on my display.
No, that's what I was just looking at. I kind of feel like it might necessarily not the initial exposure, but let's just play with just even giving it a little bit more punch this way. And it's maybe more of a contrast thing. Now it feels a little lighter. Maybe, and again, we don't know what color the skin really is, but I do feel like there's kind of an overall yellowy green cast to the whole thing. Again, I'm just saying that because I don't know, but maybe in
Yeah.
terms of that culture that the skin might, somebody's going to try and do a little, that's maybe too much, but of color showing, but it looks more realistic lighting there. This just looks kind of a flat with an overall yellow cast to it, at least my take on it.
Mhm.
I could see that. And you know what? And reds are really hard, especially when you put them up against skin tones, because there's so many different hues of red
Yeah.
and different fabrics that reflect it differently. Is it a vibrant red? Is it a muted red? And sometimes that can have a play. But what Rick brought up about the degradation of the tonality on the bottom vignette, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I overlooked that in the beginning, and I probably should have, seen it more. But it really is an issue.
So here's what was presented. And then I just did this real quick. It's just a little brighter, a little bit more natural.
Mhm. Got a little more life.
Yeah, a little more punch, but I mean, but you go beyond that, like you said, the pose is very captivating. The expression, oh my gosh, title, welcome with an apostrophe. We can't see that as a judge, but it's very exuberant and very inviting. So that's huge right there in telling that story. So good job. All right, we got one more. What's a bumper between friends? Go ahead, Bert. What do you think?
Which one gets it? I guess the one on the left. But
I think they both
you
need some
know,
help, that's for sure.
somebody had a good eye. Somebody saw these cars over there with the weeds growing over them and saw the dislocated bumper, which is what I'd call it, a dislocated bumper.
I like that.
It just kind of cracked off there and stood to the side. But it looks like it's in pretty good shape too, which is kind of amazing. I like the symmetry. Wow, symmetry of it. It's
It's
got
late.
leading lines coming in from left to right to the top and from right to left to the top. I like how that's done. I think it's got nice tonality in the black and whites. I can see all the zones in there. Um, Especially in the background, which could get burned up above the cars. I think they've done a nice job keeping me from going too much back there. Again, the matte selection, that's up to you, but I think it's the gray. I mean, I'd either go white or I'd go darker with it, but the gray just kind of didn't work for me on the matting.
Kind of pulls your eye out, doesn't it, unnecessarily? Rick, what do you
Yes,
add?
the mat. I totally agree, and I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. Um, a white mat, and we learned this from a good friend of ours that I thought was really great is, you don't want a stark white mat, maybe
Right.
taking it down about 10, 15%, something like that for the gallery, because this is definitely like a gallery
So that you're
plant.
suggesting that would be a better choice.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely go that route. But compositionally, I'm looking at these leading lines that come into the image that as I see it, are repeated because we see these what do you call them? The Buick, I guess, was big for that.
All those little vents on the hood there.
Yeah, the vents that also kind of mimic that direction as well as the window frame on this one. So, I'm just looking at composition. I'm looking at these areas here that are darn near to PowerPoints, as are the windshield. So, there's a compositionally there's a lot going on here that's positive, but I think that's what I would do is I would go into more of a fine art gallery type of a mat, maybe toning down just a little bit here.
Yeah, I think the composition isn't accidental. I think it's intentional.
Yeah,
By the camera height, they've determined that composition.
right.
Instead of if it was lower, it would change. If it was higher, it would change.
Yeah.
They've really arrived at a good spot. And then as far as the white mat, I see that with a white mat, doesn't have to be stark white mat with a black frame. And then you've got it all pulled back together, right?
Yep.
Fine art gallery look.
Yep.
Very cool. Well said, guys. Okay. Well, hey, we did it. That's our last image.
In record time.
So let's do this. We've been trying to do this real quick. Bert, since you're our
Yes.
guest, was there a couple of images? I know you didn't see some of the first ones. Let me do this here. What was your favorites? One, two favorites. We're not doing any prizes or nothing special, but
Oh, I mean, there were tons of them.
well, that's probably a really good politically correct answer, but
Well, yeah, I mean, my memory is shot half the time. Um,
and I'm not forcing anything, but we just kind of trying something.
that's where I came in. So
Okay, so
and I love this image. I thought that was one of the better images with the trees, the reflection in the water.
this one here.
I love that one. And toward the end, we had the the three bison coming through the fog. Was another, I thought, special image. Sometimes you just look at images and there's so many beautiful images, but some just come across as special to me. That's special to me.
Yeah.
I think it was special for all of us.
Yeah, agreed.
And it's just, and what I really like how you guys do this is you give them options, you show them, you use your sliders and your, things and come up with different ways that they can improve their images, which is what print competition's all about.
Right.
If you're going to enter, you want to get better at it. You want to do better at it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us for this time. Bert, thank you. Can't thank you
Oh,
enough.
sorry
Finally,
I was late.
again, don't even worry about it. I think we a lot of people stayed in the room. We had a couple
But
that had to go, but that's the cool thing. They stuck around to hear you, so good job.
but here's the good news. Yeah, I'm on mountain time and it's only 8 o'clock for me.
I know that's
We don't change, apparently.
well. There's an island, and I can't think of the name right now, but it's up in Norway that doesn't even have. They don't even use clocks. That's my kind of place.
That would
Well,
be my wife's
that's-
kind of place too.
That's Longmont, isn't it?
Well, I've never used clocks anyhow. You know, that's why I belong in that little island. Anyway,
Bert, can you hang out for just a second after we release our-
Yes.
was there
Yes.
any questions from the peanut gallery that you wanted us to hit real quick? Everybody's saying thank you. We appreciate you guys for giving us time. So by all means, thanks for joining us. Thanks for entering. Oh, again, Cliff, thank you for hanging in there and helping us out with all this stuff. We appreciate you very
You
much.
bet. Always glad to help. You bet.
Thanks, Cliff.
Thank you, Cliff.
Kim, are you awake? You were frozen right there with your eyes open. I was
You
looking.
picked on her.
Thanks, gang. Thanks, David.
Thank you all. Dave, thank you. Kim,
Good
we'll
night,
see you.
everybody. Great
Thanks,
show.
Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for watching the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson and Rick Avalos. Learn more by checking them out at theimagecritiqueshow.com.